right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to May. It's May. It's May, the lusty month of May. Technically, we had a show last week that had nothing to do with this marathon because we were wrapping up Alice month, but whatever. It's a new month. Welcome to the latest and greatest Teacup for One marathon. Normally, these are focused on movies, but this month we're straying from the path. Mother told you never stray from the path, but the path has strayed from you. That's a quote that we're going to be talking about in 4 weeks' time, but I'm so excited because tonight we are kicking off the Stephen Sondheim musical marathon. So we're not talking about movies for the next month. We are talking about stage shows, specifically musicals, composed by Stephen Sondheim. Some of them have film adaptations. Actually, how many of them have film adaptations? One of the shows we're talking about has a film adaptation. Originally, this marathon was supposed to happen way back when, in November of last year. That was the goal. And you might remember we finished... I almost called it Sweeney Todd month. We finished Tim Burton month with Sweeney Todd, and that was going to be the transition into Sondheim month, but then I got busy and I canceled it. So Sondheim month has been a long time waiting, and it is finally happening. So for those Sweeney Todd fans, we're not talking about it this month. It happened already, but we're talking about we're talking about 3 wonderful shows and Sunday in the Park with George, which is the one that we're starting off with today. Oh my gosh, Lisa looks scandalized.
Oh my God, what did you just say?
I said what I said. My cats agree with me. Hold on. Oh, Sabrina doesn't. She likes it. Eliza says, Meowth, this play is one hot mess. It's confusing and I didn't care for it. I'd rather watch you work than watch this play again. Both are so boring.
Wow.
The cat's a savage.
This is outrageous, and I can't wait to get into this with you.
Neither can I. I feel like it's rare that I'm on the side of the spectrum in these talks where I'm the one who doesn't like a thing. And that's me today. Here we are. But yeah, we'll get into it. So Lisa, favorite painter?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask this, and I did not look it up because I was like, maybe he won't. But it was my first thought, and I'm going to say, who's the painter who did the water lilies? Monet? Is it Monet?
Yeah.
I think it's Monet.
I love Monet.
I remember going into, was it the Met? I don't know if it's at the Met. Somewhere in New York. I went in, and it's just like the entire room because it's such a large piece of artwork. And you go in, and you're just like so captivated. And
I think I've seen that too. No, it's not. Is it? Yeah, it is. No, it's not the Met. It's MoMA. I think it's Museum of Modern Art. Yeah.
Such a beautiful piece of art. Monet's gorgeous. Like, I love his landscapes. Good stuff. Good
stuff indeed. Yeah. And the other question that I was considering, which I'll just ask, is favorite color.
Oh, green. 100% green. I love green.
Green's a good one.
See a good green, I'm like, that's a good green. Specifically emerald green. That is my favorite green.
Emerald City. There's a lot of green in this painting too.
That's why I might love it a lot in terms of the image of the musical.
Although, is it green or is it blue next to yellow?
Or is it orange next to green?
I saw Alex making gestures, and I feel like that's what he wanted to communicate.
Exactly, Mo. What the eye sees, George Seurat's all about that blending of, color and light, if anything.
But I'm fairly certain he did use green, though. He didn't just mix.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Sure. I'm just saying he typically, because, for example, in the play, in the musical, one of the lines is, when he's sitting with his friend, or standing with his friend, the artist friend, Jules, and he's sort of describing, he asks Jules, what color do you see? And Jules is like, violet. And then Seurat basically continues to say, well, sure, but actually it's, I forget the colors in that, but it was red and I don't know what.
Red, blue.
Red, blue, let's say. And he's like, so the eye is perceiving red and blue and violet. So Seurat would concede that the color that, the eye interprets or conceives of or combines is in fact also being perceived, and in a sense is there by virtue of that combination. But there are other colors there as well. That
would he say that, Alex? Do we know this? Would he?
Well, he did. I'm saying he did say, in the sense that he said the eye perceives the colors that I dotted, that I pointed on the canvas, as well as he admitted violet. There is no violet on the canvas. The violet is interpreted by the eye.
Yeah,
but he
there might have
acknowledged
actually. I was watching Steve Sondheim. We're on a first name basis. I was watching Steve talk about it last night, and he was saying that Seurat used like a palette of 12 colors specifically to like blend everything. So I'm questioning if violet is part of the 12. Like I couldn't name 12 colors right now. So
I'm sure you could.
I'm sure I could. I couldn't name like 12 base colors, I guess. That would
Oh yeah.
up.
I mean, what is it? Like red, yellow, and green, or whatever, like the base. Red, yellow, and blue, or red, yellow, and green.
Red, yellow, and blue are like the primary colors to create all other colors. But when you get into like the world of projections, then I think it's red, green, and blue for some reason.
Yeah, RGB is for little.
But anyway,
yeah.
Well, no science. Alex, who's your favorite painter?
I don't have a favorite painter.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen paintings. I've been to a George Seurat. No, I wouldn't say exhibition, but there was something, I guess, a kind of an exhibition featuring. I don't think it was exclusively featuring George Seurat, but maybe it was.
There's only remember 12 paintings that he did. Or how many did he do?
Yeah, it was a limited number, and I don't remember if it was like just a part of the exhibition, and I don't remember where it was. It might have been in Toronto, it might have been in the States, but anyway, I've seen a number of paintings, including work from George Seurat, but I can't say that I have a favorite painter, nor that I have that I've learned a lot about any particular painter in my life, or that I've retained a lot about any particular painter in my life. I don't have that kind of relationship with painting myself. So
then I'll give you names. I'll give my answer. I'll give my answer. My favorite painter. Okay. Well, maybe it's just for right now, because I'm sure it changes. I have a very soft spot for Van Gogh. I do love Van Gogh.
I should have worn my Van Gogh star.
Is that the screen?
Yes. No, that's Edvard Munch. Munich. It starts with an M.
Okay. Is it the Starry Night? Is that Van Gogh?
Yeah, Starry Night is Van Gogh.
I have a shirt of Starry Night. I should have worn it. It's so beautiful. If anybody who's watching remembered the Boy Meets World episode where Topanga and Corey go to the museum to see Starry Night, and it's her favorite painting, and she's just like so about it, and he's like, I don't care for it. It's like an iconic episode. Highly recommend.
Corey is so toxic. I'm not a fan. Can't do it.
On the subject of Boy Meets World, the episode that I always remember, and it's just the section that I always remember from this episode, is when there's the track and field race, and the like hot shot jocks, like, what does he say? He's like, shampoo in the morning, conditioner at night. Shampoo in the morning, conditioner at night. Like, it's going over the inner monologue, and he's like lined up to race, and then there's this like, shampoo in the morning, conditioner at night. Shampoo in the morning, conditioner at night, and that's just always stuck with me ever since I've seen it. Just saying, but yeah,
I'll revisit. But yeah, my favorite painter, I would say, is Rene Magritte. I think that's how you pronounce the name, the surrealist.
No. You said Van Gogh, so
I said that. That's kind of, but that was on track to me saying, I think under interrogation, I would say Magritte, because I adore the simplicity. And
what's Magritte done?
Magritte is the apple in front of the face. The bowler
cap the classic apple in front of the face.
Apple in front of the face, bowler cap man. Yeah, and I've seen some other work of his. I think there might be a piece of his at the AGO, but it's like a really.
Are you sure you're not thinking about Margit, the fell omen who blocks the path of the tarnished in Elden Ring?
No.
Okay, because it sounds suspiciously familiar there, or similar rather.
Oh, actually, Vince, that was another option for me. The Dogs Playing Poker guy. Love it. All right, let's bring in our final guest for tonight. First time on the show, it's Benjamin Doncom, everybody. Hi, Ben.
Hello. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So this is your first time here. Tell us who you are.
My name is Ben. I am a friend of these two gentlemen here and worked with them in the past. Actor, singer from Southern Ontario, and all-around fan of many, many things. So.
And I'm a fan of you. Here we are.
I'm a fan of you.
Oh, thank you, Ben. Who's your favorite painter, Ben?
Does Keith Haring count as a painter?
I don't know who that is.
Is he a cartoonist?
That's
Keith Haring did those, those very blocky human being, and they're very simplistic cartoons, but he was an artist.
Oh, yes. Like these guys.
The block people. Yes.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So, I love it because of the style itself, but I also am a big fan of his because he was a queer artist who a lot of his proceeds went towards AIDS research at a time when people weren't talking about the AIDS epidemic. So for me, he's always been a favorite. Yeah.
Nice. We love an artist with purpose.
Right.
Well, now I'm thinking about all of these artists that I love. Like I love Georgia O'Keeffe with all of her
The flowers.
Yes.
And like I'm thinking about the Group of Seven, Emily Carr, Tommy Thompson. There's so many good painters, guys.
There are so many good painters.
It's
So
hard to
many
pick when you
different
put on the
styles.
spot. I'm glad I wasn't asked right away because I
Oh, yeah, that's
I
right.
was like I had a minute to think.
Oh, I mean, even saying Van Gogh and Magritte, I feel like I'm missing out on others, and I don't know who, but I feel, yeah, that's what I feel. I feel like I'm missing out. Also, like Mary
Jackson
Blair,
Pollock.
Disney painter. What's that? Jackson. Oh,
What?
Jackson. Oh, yeah, Jackson Pollock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Throw the paint. Throw the paint.
Klimt.
Yeah.
Oh
Yes.
yes, Klimt. Yes.
Yeah. Wait, who's the painter from Red that the play Red is about?
Rothko.
Rothko. Yeah.
I was going to mention that.
Oh.
I want to respect artists, but there's something about blocks of color and the way that he expressed his meaning behind blocks of color that I can't get behind. It's just
I
one
need
that I'm
to
like, I
know
don't.
more.
He's somebody that would put a big canvas with like 3 lines of red and be like,
it's
This
art.
is anger.
Art.
it's art. Yeah, this is anger. This is repression. This is, and it's like, okay,
Eye of the beholder, man.
like,
I'm more-
exactly.
Holder.
My
Maybe
favorite
he's
fictional.
the biggest scam artist that we know of. You know,
That
like
would
Which is
be
still an artist.
con
amazing.
people. Yeah, con artist. So
So much to discuss.
art of
about
I mean,
art.
someone did just get in trouble for eating a banana that was taped to a wall in a museum, and it was a piece of art.
because apparently it was art.
And they were
Of course.
hungry, and they grabbed the banana and ate it. And people were like, "Oh my god, no!"
I stand.
I think
by
that completes the cycle of that.
Yeah, I feel like
piece.
that was part of the art. I feel
It
like
sh-
the
I
artist
had to
was
have
like,
been.
I
how long
wanna know
does
what
it
the
take
artist
for it
had
to
say
happen?
about that.
Or like that meme that constantly circulates, at least on my Facebook feed, about the guy who just put a pair of glasses down in a museum and then left for a few minutes, that came back and people were taking pictures of it and like studying it. Because I believe it. So apparently Mark Andrada, who was on the show last week, painted a fence in a Canadian Tire commercial. I think that counts. So
Yeah.
there we are. Yeah.
Heck
Oh yeah, the Big
yeah.
Eyes artist. We love
Big
her.
Eyes. We
Big
love
Eyes lady.
her.
Amy Adams.
We don't love her.
Amy
con
Adams,
artist,
yeah, I love Amy
husband,
Adams.
But
Yeah, we
Great
don't love the
artist.
husband. We don't love the I can't remember her name. Margaret Keane. It was
Colonel-
Margaret
Keane.
Keane. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, Big Eyes. It was great. Okay, so let's talk about Sunday in the Park with George.
Sunday in the Park
Park with George.
George.
Rappa. There are worse things than watching this stupid musical.
Oh no!
Stop it.
I mean, you're right, Matt. There are many, many, many worse things than
Lisa-
watching this
It's true.
stupid
I think
musical.
we're the
You're
two
right.
that are.
Oh no,
I
I think Alex is a fan as well.
Oh no! I'm a full on Sunday fan. Don't
Are you sure?
don't rain on my
'Cause-
parade.
Okay.
I reacted
said
exactly how Lisa
stupid.
reacted when Matt said that he hated it. I'm in the back being like, "Oh my god, no! You invited me to talk about it, and you despise it." What? No.
No,
Right?
and I'm-
He
anyway.
knew that he
There always
needed
has to be
to
one. There always has to be
True.
one. So now this is going to be the part where we give our opening statement, any history that you have with the musical, if you recall the first time you saw it, and then we'll circle back around to say what you thought if you revisited it recently in advance of this. But first, we'll go with your history with the musical. I'll go first. I had very high expectations for this show. I heard about it in high school in my musical theater class, and we saw snippets of it in a documentary. I thought this looks stunning and breathtaking and like the greatest thing ever. Seeing the painting come together, hearing the beautiful harmonies, and the concept to me was thrilling. And then I ended up like, this was way before streaming and YouTube existed, but it wasn't what it is now. So the only way for me to see it was I had to buy a VHS copy off of eBay, which ended up coming from like a library in the States somewhere. So my first time watching it, I had the VHS tape and I thought, what is this? Why is it so long and boring? Maybe I'm not smart enough for this show. And then I just kind of wrote it off, and I found moments that I liked and songs that I liked, which have stuck with me. And every time in my adult life that I've tried to revisit it, I think maybe I'm more patient now. Maybe this musical will reach me in a way that it didn't before, but no, never. My thoughts have shifted a little bit over the past few days. So I would no longer say I hate this musical. I will say
Okay.
I have thoughts about this musical
Okay.
that we'll get into. I wouldn't even ever say that I hated this musical. It's just never been a favorite, and I don't enjoy watching it. So maybe that is hate. Who knows?
That's some hot takes.
I
What
know,
is
right? I
hate?
know, right? Right.
How do you
What
define
is
hate?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Alex, how do you know? That's we don't want to go on that tangent. Let's go with Lisa. Lisa, how did you discover this musical? What does it mean to you?
How did I discover this musical first? I was in grade 10 and I had just applied for grade 11's musical theater course at Cawthra Secondary.
That's the course where I discovered this musical.
But I didn't discover it in class. My best friend, Avery Humanick, was like, I need you to watch this musical with me because it's my favorite musical. I was like, okay, well, like, I guess it's going to be like good preparation for like next year's course. So like we go to her place. She puts the VHS that she got from PBS
Good.
into her VHS player. And I was just like captivated. I was like, of course this is your favorite musical because it's now my favorite musical. I was like obsessed with Bernadette Peters.
Oh yes, we love her.
I like still have a very, very strong crush on her. And Mandy Patinkin, like very strong crush on him. Like I was just so captivated by their performances. And at that time, as like a young person in art school, I really related to the artist's journey of George, both Georges. And I was like, I feel I get it. It's like I feel like someone gets me in terms of like the creative process and how difficult it is. And it was also at that time when I was like, am I going to be a theater artist? Like, do I stay in theater or do I become like a meteorologist or I don't know, a veterinarian, right? So I feel like it has stuck with me so strongly because of how formative of my years I was in when I saw it. And now it's still applicable. Like, still love the performances, still love the message. And I do think that there are some dramaturgical structures, story-wise, things that could be, you know, mended, looked at, edited, but we can get to that. Either way, it's a musical that is very near and dear to my heart, and I can't wait to talk about it more.
Oh yeah, no, me too. I think there is a lot to discuss with this musical, and the more I sit with my weird, complicated feelings on it, I think it's a musical that I appreciate because it makes me think, but it makes me feel nothing because I'm dead inside. But...
Whoa, maybe you need therapy.
Maybe.
Remind me
We
to give
can't
you a
help you.
hug when I see you
Okay.
next.
Yeah.
Ben, you go next. How'd you
Oh,
discover
geez.
this musical?
So, high school was the first time I heard, and this is going to sound sad, but the first time I heard anything by Stephen Sondheim was when I was in high school. I was about 15 as well.
Yeah.
And I heard Finishing the Hat on the Sirius XM Broadway station. And the first time I heard that song, I hated it. I didn't understand it. I was very uneducated. I didn't. I listened to it in the first passing and had no idea about the musical, had no idea what it was about, no context of the show. So listening to just that song, I was like, this is dumb.
Amen.
Which...
Like, hold on, I have a question. Like,
Yes.
lyrically, did you think it was dumb? Musically, you thought it was dumb?
Lyrically, I thought it was dumb.
Okay.
Musically, I thought it was beautiful.
Cool. Okay.
Later on, once I educated myself and learned how wonderful Stephen Sondheim is and the way that he writes musicals and the way that he infuses everything an actor needs into the songs, did I take a second pass at that song and was like, oh my God, okay. I watched the entire musical for the first time when I was in college. I was in third year, the fourth years were doing Sunday in the Park. Wanted to be in that show, was not in that show, unfortunately. But the first time I watched it all the way through, I bawled my eyes out at the end. I agree with Lisa. The artist journey very much, and it's still something that is so um, something that I can relate to today. The idea of wanting to connect with people, but also knowing that being an artist is a very lonely thing because you focus so much of yourself into what you're doing that you tend to, without even trying to, push everybody else away. And I think that's something that especially in theater school, felt very isolated the whole time I was there. So it became sort of like a very cathartic and safe thing for me to watch, which is why to this day I still enjoy it and love it.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Well, thank you.
I enjoyed hearing that more than watching. Well, no, this is kind of my thing. I have this thing where sometimes if people give me their perspective on something, I like it more than I did when I watched the thing.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I say this about when people quote The Office all the time. I've still like it's never stuck with me. I've tried to watch The Office. I don't find it funny, but when people retell moments to me or quote jokes, I'm like, this is hilarious. Alex knows.
I do.
Whenever Alex quotes The Office, I'm like, that's funny.
Have you watched The British Office though?
No, maybe I will.
Maybe
Matt, you would like The British Office more.
Matt's never seen any Monty Python, so hold your check yourself before you wreck yourself, folks. All right, Matt's a filthy,
No, that's a lot.
Right?
No, I've seen Life of Brian.
That's a good one. That is a very good one.
That's fine. Yeah. So, Alex, how did you discover Sunday in the Park with George?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Sunday. We all know about Sunday. But
We all know
about
George Sunday.
Ice cream. Yeah, no, I discovered it in college. It was just in my third year, which is the final year in the program that I attended. We got to do each semester a workshop show. And so the first semester, our workshop show was Sunday in the Park with George. And the workshop show was just, you kind of think of you could almost think of it as like a staged reading and concert or whatever. So it was basically as staged, as memorized as you kind of wanted and could manage. But in principle, you were allowed to have your scripts on, and it was kind of minimal in that way. We didn't really bother too much with costumes and props. People did do fun things. There's a bit of individual agency, and there were some group things that the faculty helped with. But anyway, that's all irrelevant. So it was in that context. So I wasn't super familiar with Stephen Sondheim. I was vaguely aware of, his connection to like Sweeney Todd company, but I wasn't a huge fan. I didn't go into musical theater school as like a huge musical theater fan. Like I loved live performance, but I wasn't like a nerd about it, if you want. It wasn't my passion to get kind of, either intellectual or educated in that way. But anyway, and I watched it on YouTube. I watched the ripped VHS DVD copy that has been on YouTube perpetually since who knows when, but there's always a different version popping around whenever I go back and revisit it. It is a show that I've watched numerous times since. But at the time, at that first experience, I was familiar with Mandy Patinkin primarily from Princess Bride, which is one of my favorite movies. And I love his performance in that movie. And so I loved seeing him. Bernadette Peters, I really enjoyed in Sunday in the Park with George. I don't think at the time I was particularly familiar with her. I'm a bit more familiar with her now in terms of other productions that she's done. But at the time, it was like it was a name.
What were you doing in 1997 when she was the stepmother in the best Cinderella movie?
I was probably wetting the bed and sneaking into my parents' room at night when it was dark and scary out because I was 6. But anyway,
I was 3.
Yeah, well, don't worry. Matt was old.
Yeah,
he's otherwise, no, I really enjoyed it when I first watched it, and I've only enjoyed it more and analyzed it more and kind of immersed myself more every time I kind of watch it. And I loved having this opportunity to revisit it again, get my thoughts down, do my notes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Delightful. I took notes too. That's the thing I learned from Alex. I know. No, I actually realized it was during Tim Burton Alice. I thought, I need to remember all these thoughts I'm having. Oh, this is probably why Alex takes notes. And I started taking notes. Look, I have all my notes.
Very
Nice.
nice.
Look at you.
I have
Right?
all my notes.
Good for
Oh
you.
my
Oh, you wrote.
goodness.
I just did jot notes. I just did. Yeah. Oh, you wrote actual.
I mean, they're little
paragraphs.
dashes. They're little dashes, but
Nice. Nice. So, yeah, let's just talk about new discoveries we had whilst rewatching it. I'll go first. I've been grappling, I think, with my distaste for this musical,
BRB.
especially over the last week and revisiting it. And I've started to realize I think a lot of it has to do with me not liking the original production, like the recorded production with
Yeah.
Mandy and Bernadette. Because when I think back, there was the first time it was revived in early 2000s with Daniel Evans and Jenna something, the British production that moved over. When they performed Move On at the Tonys, I thought, this is gorgeous. And I like this song and this performance so much more than I ever have before. And then the stuff I've seen of the Jake Gyllenhaal production, including the Slime tutorial, aka Bootleg, that has won me over. And even just seeing video footage of when the show first went to the West End in 1990 with a different director, it captivated me. So I think it's in part, the original production that has always sort of deterred me from it. So yeah, I think it was hard for me to acknowledge that because of how much I love Mandy Patinkin and Bernadette Peters. But I think they're also a big part of my problem with this show. Because the very first note I have here is George is a dick. And so there it is. And the way that George almost like infantilizes Dot and talks to her like she's an idiot child has always been very off-putting to me. And that happens so early on that I think I've never been able to actively engage with him as the person I'm supposed to care about. And when I've started to explore other Georges and I find more humanity and I find more investment on both sides in the relationship between George and Dot, that's when I find the show more interesting. But just, I don't want to take anything away from Mandy's performance because it's obviously beautiful, but there's just a coldness to him that is definitely necessary for the character, but makes me disengage, as it were. And even Bernadette Peters, I've liked her a lot more in other things. There's something about I don't know, I feel like she amps up the baby talk voice in this role, which doesn't help with George in this production, treating her like such a young, naive child, as it were. And she does kind of have an arc where as she learns to read, I feel like she, in Bernadette's performance, kind of grows up, which is another thing that I don't necessarily care for, especially seeing other Dots where she's just always been a very grounded-ish, mature person who is very aware and tapped into her emotions, whereas George is not. And I think it took me seeing other performances of those roles to appreciate the show overall. And it also helped me. I was listening to the Jake Gyllenhaal cast recording start to finish while I was doing a drive the other day, and separate from the visuals, I think the music is really beautiful, and the spectacle element of this show, I think, gets in the way in some capacity. Because again, going back to the recording from the 80s, it's like the audience has never been to a show before and they just clap for everything, no matter how simple it is. Like a tree disappears and they're like, yes, woo! Guys, calm down. It's a tree. It disappeared. So when you take away the spectacle and you can listen to the material, and I say you, I mean me, it's easier for me to appreciate it because I started to almost hear this story of George, not so much being an artist, but almost being an addict to something. And I'm like, interesting. This is a story about someone has such a deep addiction that it's cutting him off from everyone else in his life, which is essentially what it is. But the addiction as it is art, which I thought was interesting. So pretty well, I have other issues with the show, which I'll discuss later, but I've already said a lot. But it comes down to I don't like Mandy Patinkin and Bernadette Peters in the show. And that's a big part of what doesn't work for me. But there it is. I open the floor. How do we feel either about what I said or about your discoveries and revisiting it for this talk?
If I might say, is George not in touch with his emotions, or is he not able to convey them in the same way that Dot is able to?
Ooh, that's accurate.
I agree with you, Ben, because there's so many that question comes up in a lot of the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the later part of Act 1 and in Move On, the second act high number.
Mhm.
Like they always get to the point of like, you don't know how to communicate with me, or like I don't have the words that you need from me, from both sides. And
Right.
I think it's like a love language kind of thing where they are so in love with each other, but they just can't communicate in that way. But I think that's the gorgeousness of George's character and like the challenge within that relationship that I think James Lapine, is that
Lapine.
Pine, wrote in the book of the musical. So I feel that, Ben.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. But I would say,
go ahead.
Sorry. I just want I maybe it's because I have like I'm so attracted to both of these people so much, but I do think it's the directorial choices that is what's the problem here. And also because it's an archive of the theater version, like they captured a weird audience, you know, like when you go see a show, sometimes the audience that you're seeing it with makes or breaks the show. And
True.
so I'm like, I think maybe it's like this weird, very enthusiastic audience might be part of the reason why I'm like, it feels a little weird. But overall, I think James did a poor directorial job of actually making George less like he created George as an asshole. Like he directed Mandy into that role and was like, yes, Mandy, keep going that way and keep infantilizing Bernadette. Like, I think that's a big part of the director's job in the theater to like really like contain the actors' play within the world that they're building. And I think that might be because he's also the writer of the book, right? So I don't think the writer of a piece of theater should always direct. And I think that's the fault here. But then I know I'm biased, so.
Oh no, like generally I agree. I think my only bias here is that he also wrote the book for and directed Into the Woods original, which I think is like the most perfect thing ever. So it's kind of like Linda Wolverton and Belle / Alice in Wonderland. I'm like, I love everything you did for so many reasons on one hand, but then you did almost the same thing in another scenario and I don't like it. So it's like, is it me? Am I the problem? Who knows?
Am I the drama?
I don't think I'm the drama.
I wanted to respond a little quickly to one point, Lisa, you were saying about the phenomenon of a funny audience and that sort of thing, like this being kind of an archival. The beginning credits do suggest, as to my eye, there's a name credited for a director, like a director of video or something like that. There's some kind of credit where it basically indicates to me that there was a specific like direction given for it being recorded. So I don't know. I obviously don't know to what extent that would have how that would have transferred over to the audience as well. If there was some kind of plan for whether the audience knew going in it would be a video record or whatever, like all those details.
I'm pretty sure the audience. Like I get the impression that the audience was also directed. Because like
sure, right? There might have been.
Like I've been to recordings at Stratford, and then they tell you beforehand, please react.
Yeah.
So that's just something that I think like there might be an interesting. Well, I mean, on the question of just on what you guys were saying, right? In terms of like on the question of how the audience was behaving, like that might inform us a bit or suggest something as to justifying their behavior or informing us as to the reasons behind it rather.
Yeah. I also feel like it's within context. When was this 1983 ish 1984? I feel like spectacle to this level wasn't as commonplace in musical theater as it is now. Like Phantom, I don't think had happened yet, or at the very least it hadn't opened on Broadway yet. So for a New York audience, I think just to see the sheer production value was probably a big thing as well, which that's likely why they were applauding for so much as well. And now we're just in a place watching it where that's like you can see that almost at high schools to some level.
Wow.
Well, hey, I went to Lisa, we went to an art school. The set designs we had were incredible.
Yeah, it's true. Yes. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know. I think the whole conversation about audience reaction and that's like a whole other thing that we can talk about because so many people are like, no, the audience shouldn't react. And then there's other people like, no, the theater needs audience participation. They need to react. So yeah, I think it's interesting.
Not to mention filmed productions provide another lens that the audience has to see through in order to see the production. When you're seeing a live production, you get to decide what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Whereas film productions, you're seeing what someone has chosen for you to see. So
yeah, like there's so many cuts in this piece where it's like when she's singing Children in Arts as Marie, and she's like, oh, I see my mom in there and there and there. Like as an audience member in the theater, I would be like, I would not know what she's necessarily pointing at, but the direction of the video literally shot specific women in the painting. And I was like, okay, that is what the director of the video wants me to see and to internalize, right?
Yeah.
It creates a different filter or an extra filter, which is interesting. It makes it more accessible to us because we never would have been able to see this 1980s version, but it does, just poses questions of like, okay, this is not the same experience as the people in the audience at that time. Yeah.
Like in some ways, I feel like I would prefer this as a movie, a properly directed, made for movie, which is another thought that I had when I was just listening to it on my drive. I like, and obviously it's about a painting. I think it's a very visually driven story. So there is something interesting about the choice of having such a visually driven narrative conveyed on stage. Like even listening to It's Hot Up Here, I just picture seeing the images as opposed to of the actual painting instead of the recreation of the painting. So I don't know. In my lifetime, I want to see it as a movie, but that's just me.
That would be so cool.
One thing that Bob just said, placed a comment right there, and that is something that I take away from when I see something in the park with George is George is not a neurotypical person. Like the way he is trying to connect with people is in a way that doesn't translate well to other people, which is why he comes off so cold and abrasive and indifferent, because he doesn't feel the same way other people feel. And I mean, I'm using today's words placed on a person from hundreds of years ago. However,
and also placed on a playwright and
exactly
who didn't have these words.
Didn't have those words at all.
Years ago. Yeah.
But what I can connect to is that again, that feeling of we're all longing to be seen by other people. And his way to do that was to paint what was around him and to create. And I don't know. I can see, yes, him and Dot are not on the same page, and so he can come across as very cold and calculated. But I feel for him, especially when you're trying so desperately in the best way that you know possible to connect to somebody and it's not working. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. I recommend, if you haven't, to watch the Jake Gyllenhaal, Annalee Ashford bootleg, because I just feel like they bring the relationship to life in such a nice, beautiful way, where I feel the love, and where through Jake's version of George, definitely all of those qualities are still there, but you feel that he has some inkling of maybe not compassion, but love for her. You basically just feel the love between them and get why it doesn't work out. Whereas that's just what I'm missing, as it were, from Mandy and from Bernadette. And I almost feel like if they were in the movie that I would like to see, then maybe his performance would translate a little bit more. Like if you could just see the longing played super subtly, because I think Mandy is doing an extremely subtle, beautiful performance, but since it is a stage medium, like that distance doesn't really do him any favors, where you can't read as much nuance into it as I think is there. So there it is. What does Vince have? Vince has a serious question. 2 hours and 4 minutes in the show, Mandy goes to stand up and his knees look like they almost buckle, but he recovered. I didn't notice that.
Maybe he was just really was it during what's it called? The Chromaloon number 7,
Oh,
putting it
Chromaloon.
together. I think
Bit
it's
by
part
bit,
where he's
piece
like
by
getting
piece.
really,
putting it-
yeah, like he's like talking to the foundation members and the PR guys. I think he's just getting into it.
creativity, imagination.
Yeah.
So how does everyone feel about Act 1 versus Act 2? Because I think that's one of the most divisive things.
I
with
knew
this
you were
show.
gonna. I knew you were
Oh,
gonna
of
say
course.
this. So
Of course.
when I first learned that, so for those who don't know, unless you want to tell them, Matt,
I don't know what you're going to say.
I was gonna say initially it was a 1-act musical.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, so it originally the show ended with the painting being put together, and that was it.
Okay.
When they were going to bring it to Broadway, they were like, "We need a second act. We
We
can't
need
just
act
have we need a whole second act." So they wrote the second act. It does feel like there is less thought put into the second act, but some of the best songs come from the second act as well. So I have a love-hate relationship with the second act.
Oh yeah, Lisa, you go.
I remember the first time watching it, and even though like I was like, oh my god, this is such a great musical, I love it so much. I did think at the time, like, ooh, this is a little rickety, because Act 2 doesn't even open up at the 100-year past mark. Like it opens up with the painting still, with all the ensemble in the piece, and then it goes into 1980s George and his grandmother Marie. And I feel like it was the lack of a dramaturge, which is there's two rules of a dramaturge. One is like historical accuracy and research, and then there's also like just the structure of the play and like the clarity for the audience receiving the story. And I don't think they had one, or a very good one, for the show, and they were just at the mercy of the producers, because at the Playwrights Horizon, where they were workshopping it, when they did that first act and it was like amazing, the producers were like, yeah, we can't bring it to Broadway unless there's a second act. Like nobody is going to buy tickets, like a full price ticket for just a 1-act musical. And I think it's really difficult for artists to do when like they're forced to create something that is not necessarily in their original vision or objective. But like I think they did succeed in some ways, because there are some beautiful moments, specifically with Move On.
Yep.
Where like you don't like, from a narrative
That's the number 8.
perspective, yeah, from like a narrative perspective, it's like, why is Dot talking to her great grandson and as if he's
George,
lover?
original
Yeah.
George, yeah.
Like it's weird. It's so weird. I'm like, where was the person to be like, okay, we need to, if we're going to do this, we need to clarify some things instead of just going into the song. But as a person who is again biased or whatever, I can put it aside and be like, I can make up whatever I need. I can suspend my disbelief and let this song and let this part of the story speak for itself. But I get the people who would go see the show and be like, this is some bullshit. So
I am good.
No, yeah, I just think, although I love it, Act 2 is not my favorite. Yeah.
I'm the Act 2 apologist, and full disclosure, my bias does start in it originates in the fact that I was Act 2 George in the workshop that I mentioned. So
Love it.
I am the Act 2.
Yes.
I will die on the hill of Act 2. Better than Act 1, no.
I prefer Act 2 to Act 1.
Interesting.
Which is, I'd love to get into that, but I think another interesting question that I have, a question that I'm interested in is if Ben and Lisa, anybody knows one, if the original, that's true, that's your name, I forgot. If the original 1-act version stayed like the same, like if the first act of the musical is basically the unedited full 1-act version of the play, and if so, if not, do we know what was shifted or cut or whatever? And if nothing was shifted or cut, as far as we know, and it would be just that one act, how do we feel about how would we feel about the ending? Because my bias or whatever, my inclination is to say that the first act to me doesn't really feel complete. Like it is complete in a lot of ways in a dramaturgical sense, maybe to an extent, but the sort of walking out of the theater feeling like you've, learned the lesson or understood the theme or whatever, that side of it for me, I feel like I would feel incomplete with just act one. So what are your thoughts on that kind of stuff?
Yeah, from what I've read in like Sondheim's writing about like the creation of the piece, it like that was it. Like what we see is it. And the act two was literally only completed the day before opening on Broadway.
Yeah.
That's
Good.
how like rushed.
It wasn't started and ended, but it did just wrap up right before it.
Yeah, it just wrapped up. And like
Yeah.
where like Bernadette and Mandy were like still like learning lines and dialogue. Like it was still
Yeah.
So I think I agree with you, Alex. Like Act 1 doesn't finish the full story of what we take away from with Act 2. Like it's the full story about the painter and the painter's journey with Sunday in the Park at the island in
Sunday at the afternoon of Legrand shot.
Yeah, like that is that story, but that's not the full story that we get by the end of Act 2. The full story is the journey of the artist and finding connection and community and whatever, right? But yeah, like I don't know, as a first time watcher when I was in grade 10, I was like very much like, it's a narrative, like the narrative makes sense. It doesn't have a lot of like jump skips. And so when I saw that 100-year time jump, it was very shocking, but yeah.
I feel without Act 2, you still get a cohesive story. It ends on a very different note. You don't get the resolution between him and Dot that you get with Move On, which in its own way, I think is kind of satisfying in a tragic, unresolved type of way. Like their last encounter ever is just them singing "We Don't Belong Together," and then he bounces. Well, he doesn't bounce back, but he has the moment with his mom where he kind of connects with her. Then he makes his painting, and then end. And for better or worse, he created something beautiful, even though he lost the love of his life, and he has like a non-existent relationship with his mother, which I think it ends. Actually, talking about it now, that's almost more satisfying to me. But I still prefer Act 2.
I mean,
Act 2.
Act 1 ends in a very like Chekhov style way, right? Yeah. Where you like it's not anything grand as like a death or anything, but like he does lose a lot in the form in his sacrifice for his art, right? Mm. And at least in Act 2, generationally, he heals his wounds that way, which is very, I think, in like a contemporary sense, like something like audiences like love and crave. Mm-hmm. But I'm okay with it like ending in like a bittersweet moment. Like I could have dealt with a one-act musical. I love a short musical.
That's how life is though. Sometimes things end poorly and we aren't able to take away a full cathartic lesson from it. We sort of just have to live it, right? So I know that sounds really dark, and I'm sorry.
Oh no, but
yeah, like
well, the question becomes.
Sorry, go for it, Alex.
Yeah,
I was going to say in that example, then, like the question is like the only like I love or I permit like almost all art. Like I don't want to limit any art and say what's good or bad or whatever. But like I'm always there's always a question of what's the point. And the point, it can be almost anything, right? It can be all there's all kinds of points. And the point can be like, I want to throw, crap on the wall and see what kind of smudges it makes when it falls off the wall. And those smudges are going to be inspirational in some way. And that's the point. I just want to see if I can get inspired. That's fine. That's valid. But in like kind of your example of like movies and media art that is more, that is darker and is more like, hey, sometimes life's shit. Sometimes things don't work out. Yeah. Well, I guess that's not a swear word, really. Okay. Shit. I did say crap earlier, though, so give me credit.
Earlier.
But, yeah.
Did you? Okay.
anyway, in that context, it's like, again, why? What is the intention or the purpose to showing audiences or communicating the message to audience that sometimes things don't work out? You can have there are movies and shows where where they or not even, or musicals, right? Like as an example, you can say like maybe Dear Evan Hansen maybe is an interesting example in the sense that the show doesn't end with Evan, with the main character, like benefiting or really, or self-actualizing, or turning things around and coming on top. It ends in a kind of like, he's suffered some consequences from the actions that he's taken, and we're left with a kind of with an unsteadiness or an unease about what's going to happen with Evan, right? Like we don't know what's going to happen with them. We it's like he has some extra tools. He's learned some lessons himself they didn't have before, but we don't know how he's going to use them. We don't know how the way life's going to work out, and if he's going to have the opportunity to use them, et cetera, et cetera. So that's something where I would maybe say like that's like an example of a show that can be somewhat dark and can kind of have kind of like a non-optimistic message at the end, in the sense that like what we're left with is less of a, if you do this then things will work out, and it's more of a, don't do this, don't be shitty, like don't do the shitty stuff. And that's kind of the main thing, let's say. I'm not saying that's the point of Evan Hansen, that's another discussion, but anyway. All that to say is like that's where my mind goes to when it's like, okay, if we're going to tell the story of life is dark and doesn't always work out, then I'm always interested in why do we want to tell that story. And I think there are many good reasons to tell that story, and useful reasons and productive reasons, but again, I want to know the reasons. Yeah,
well, I think that's what it is if you end at Act 1, but then Act 2 I feel makes it a much more art focused conversation, which I have things I want to discuss about Act 2, which we're kind of moving in that direction anyway. But I think with Act 2, a lot of the ideas that the show explores that I find the most interesting pop up in Act 2, especially about the whole concept of legacy, as it were, because George is he was the coldest human being that we saw in Act 1, and yet in Act 2 he's the only one that any like trace of memory exists about. So you have all the more fully developed humans with lives and relationships who are the subjects of the painting, but then like 100-ish years later there's all this debate about who they actually are, and nobody knows, and he's the only one that still is like a figure in people's mind that people are talking about, which I think is interesting. So there's that, and then there's also just the whole discussion of like how has art changed between the 1800s to the 1900s, because you have someone who's just creating for himself, and then in Act 2 you have Act 2 George, who's creating for
profit,
as it were. And I have so many things I want to discuss about Act 2 George, so maybe we will get there. But also I don't think he's a good artist, but that's enough.
Before we discuss, just because it's on my mind, I don't know if this helps in any way. Have you heard the term Sonder?
Tell me.
So Sonder is the understanding that everybody that we come across in life has a complex and like fully realized life story. Okay. And we will never be part of it. We will not be main players in those people's lives. And there's something, again, with connection being a big theme in this show, something very interesting about trying to sit and be okay with the fact that everybody around us is a fully realized person, and some of us will never know those people, and some of those people will never know us.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. What was your question, Matt, though?
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, it started. Yeah, what was it? Well, it started with me giving my thoughts on why I think I like Act 2, and to answer Alex's question about what's the point or what's the purpose of it. I think that was Alex's question, or one of the things that he brought up. Well, don't make that face. Well, no, at some point you said, "What's the point?" Because you were saying like all art is valid, but like in response to yeah. Well, you said, "What's the point?" So anyway, here we are. What's the pointillism? I feel of Act 2 is opening up the conversation more so about art and the relationship between art and human beings to solidify legacy, which comes into Marie. I almost called her Dot. Into Marie's whole song about children and art are like the only things worth leaving behind. Which I don't know if I agree with that, but there we are.
I mean, I really like children and arts. As a person who does not want children, I'm like, yes, art is something we have to leave behind. But I think Act 2 for me showed that even though George present day was creating for like profits and like, you know, had to like, you know, do the song and dance of schmoozing. Both Georges still had the same challenges, and like artists will never escape the never-ending cycle of imposter syndrome and never being good enough and being a perfectionist and like sacrificing your life for the art and like losing friendships and love and like all of that stuff. Like both Georges to me are very parallel, and I feel that like George present day is reconciling all of that through his exploration of his ancestry, which I think is just so beautiful and such a great journey to go on as like a human. So to see that like put on stage and, you know, sung through in these like really complicated songs, not complicated songs, but, you know, thematically complex songs is it's masterful. And that's why like now I love Act 2. And I can set aside the, you know, the structure of it all, you know, but I think that's where like Act 2 shines. And yeah, like there's just so many good songs in Act 2 where you're really exploring the difficulties of like present day art making that, yes, maybe George 1800s didn't have to go through, but it's like, yeah, we have to like schmooze funders and talk to PR people. Like, I was like, oh, you get it. Like, you get it. So, yeah.
Like, I'd like to see Act 2. Well, it's too late now. I would have liked to have seen Act 2 revised and rewritten and dramaturged, as Lisa has said, because I think it's the more interesting act. For me, it sparks more interesting thoughts, like just the whole nature of art, as it were. And putting it together, I'm conflicted because I love the song. Like, it's so much fun to listen to. It's such a fun song. But I also, this is just a personal thing. I generally don't. Oh, this is another reason I don't like Sunday in the Park with George, which I should have said at the beginning. I tend to get annoyed by theater pieces that are about artists making art, because I feel they're very, they run the risk of being kind of too self-serving and a little annoying. So yeah, like that's kind of, I've held that issue sometimes with Rent. Even though I love Rent, there's still a side of me that's like, you aren't above paying rent because you're making art. Like,
Oh
like yes, you can have your art, but also play, like, art is not a free pass towards everything else. Like, it should be.
I don't think that's the point of Rent, but
I like, it's kind of there though.
I don't think that's really a theme.
We'll discuss that later. We'll discuss that
later. No, Matt, I agree with you. That is something that is, as someone who also loves Rent, that is the first thing. Anytime they're like, we're not going to pay rent, I'm like, dude.
And like, it's probably not that much.
No, it's really not that much. Pay your rent and then continue to be able to pay it. In the 90s,
they were, well, in
like, maybe I just didn't like hear the lyrics properly ever watching Rent, but I've never interpreted the first song of Rent being them saying we don't want to pay because we'd rather do other things. I've always interpreted as they don't have money because they're poor for whatever reason. Like, it's just about like the people.
The reason is that they don't want to get jobs because they're making their art.
Well,
I mean, I don't. Do we know that? Does anybody there say like I could be working in it? I mean, the closest we have to that, I think, is Mark. You know, turning down contract for artistic integrity, but that's different, I think. And again, it's I don't know. Like I again, maybe I also missed lyrics though. I'm not an expert. I only recently started to like warm up to Rent. Like I spent most of my life not like being annoyed by Rent.
We'll save it for Rent month. We'll save it for Rent month.
Yeah.
Okay. What would that even be? Who knows? But another example, Merrily We
I was
Roll
gonna say Tick Tick
Along.
Boom is a straight up like it's about his life, right?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, no.
Like that would be more so of like an artist about the journey of making art. Be a great direct comparison.
Well, I liked the movie more than I expected to.
The movie is. Even though the movie is
it did kind of
script.
My first viewing of the movie, it annoyed me for those same reasons. Of I
tend
to not enjoy pieces created by artists talking about how their life is as an artist. But no, so Merrily We Roll Along is an example where it is about that, but I love it because it's grounded in friendship, and then that is a very human thing that I think everyone outside of artists can relate to. I think that's what my issue is. I don't like art about making art because I think it speaks to a very specific demographic of people, because not everyone is necessarily an artist, and there are very specific things about that process that absolutely I can read into, but I'm more interested in what it means to be a person as opposed to defining myself as here I am as an artist. And there are certain moments in like putting it together where I feel it's just Sondheim trying to not gain sympathy, but turn a light on the encounters he'd had in his life that annoyed him as a creative person in terms of dealing with criticism and having to just kind of smile through it. And it just feels very specific to that experience, which is also the situation with Opening Doors in Merrily We Roll Along, where it's just a full out satire of having to appease people who don't understand your vision, where it's like, make it catchier because that's what I want. And I appreciate that as a creative person who normally has my creative choices questioned, because everyone does, but also as a normal human being watching something, I want to relate on a bigger level. So there it is.
Fun fact. So Merrily We Roll Along is the last show before Sondheim created Sunday in the Park with James and
George.
Yeah. And so he was like, after Merrily, he was like, I'm done theater, because like the critics hated it.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm done. I'm never doing this again. I'm going to find another way of making a living. And James was the one who was like, oh, like, you can't be done because I have this script that we need to work on together. And I think a lot of the struggle that Sondheim was experiencing with Merrily Roll Along really impacted the way that he approached the lyrics and the composition of the second act, George, which I'm okay with. Like, as an artist who goes to see a lot of shows, I want to see shows that are made for artists. And I don't care how cringy that is for other people. Like, I love it. But I do think this does it better than Merrily We Roll Along, because the way that, again, specifically with Move On, like the way that song is created, it's not just about creating art. Like that can be so applicable in so many areas of life where you're like, yeah, this thing is not working out. We got to move forward. Like that's just how this works, this silly thing called life. And I don't think he really captured that in Merrily We Roll Along, which may be why it was so poorly received by audiences and critics. But I understand what you mean, Matt. Like it can feel very isolating as a person who's not an artist just coming to the theater to watch a piece of art. But aren't we all just inherently artists at the end of the day?
Like, isn't everybody a special snowflake creative person?
Okay.
Whoa.
I'm joking.
Like a lot of indigenous folks talk about how in their culture, like person and artist is the same word. In Anishinaabe, they say that person and artist is literally the same word. There's not a difference. And so when like you think about that, I'm always like, we are all inherently creative and we're all inherently like using our imagination for so many parts of our life. Like, you know, I think I think an artist's journey is so applicable for anyone who, even if they're not in an arts field, which I think is beautiful. And again, I might be biased because I am in an arts profession. So,
But
yeah.
I agree with you, and on the context that it's so hard to separate someone who works in an art field, to separate yourself from what you do, because it is essentially you are the product, you are what you are presenting. So it is, and which is so, which I can understand why, Matt, it becomes across very self-serving, because you're trying to rectify the feeling of trying to separate yourself from what you're doing, but it comes very much across as like, look at me, my life is so hard, look at what I have to go through.
And then it's just so ironic, like looking back at the show, that like George is like can't separate himself from his art, you know?
Yeah.
And like poor Dot for like not like getting that, because she doesn't get that specific piece that we're talking about now, which is fine. But like I think she's still an artist, because like she's talking about how she just wants to be in the Follies and like she just wants to dance and like live this beautiful artistic life with this lover that she has. But yeah, I think like with George, he literally cannot separate himself. And I think that's what's just so ironic about it all. So cool.
I wanted to shout out the just quickly the one of my, it might be my favorite lyric in the show, which is in Move On in Act 2.
Cool. Can we guess? Can we guess?
Sure. Yeah. It's a yes.
Okay.
Oh, is it the? Oh, I know exactly the one. Hold on.
Stop
Oh,
worrying
hold
that your
on.
vision is new. Let others make that
Nope.
decision they usually
Nope.
do.
That
No.
one? No.
No. No.
Then I don't know.
Look at where you are. Look at what you've done.
No.
Let it come from you, then it will be new.
No.
Oh,
No.
is it? Oh, wait. I think this is actually my favorite lyric from Move On.
Okay.
It's a back and forth. It's right at the beginning. I have nothing to say that hasn't been said,
that's not
but
been
not
said.
yeah, but not by you though. Not by
Not
you,
you, George. That's
Yeah.
a good one, but that's not my favorite.
Okay.
What is your favorite?
Well
I
then,
wanna make things
it's
count.
Dot's line. The choice may have been mistaken. The choosing was not.
Ooh.
No.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
That's
and I
a
just
good
we were
one.
talking. It keeps coming up the song, and we were I think it's a great line, and it's got, and like to what you were talking about, Lisa, kind of, in a way like like in the way that when you were saying Move On isn't necessarily either just about one thing, nor from an audience's perspective, we don't have to, and that's kind of the beautiful thing about art, is as an experiencer of art, you're not limited to the intention of the artist or anything like that. It's in the eye of the beholder. It's up to you and your interpretation, and that's a valid experience. It's a valid interpretation. So in terms of your conundrum, Matt, where you kind of have this hang up of art that seems too self-indulgent, it's like that's a valid interpretation, a valid experience, but there is also a possibility of stepping away from what you perceive the intention behind the art to be, or the author's storytelling or the author's story, and kind of getting your own thing from it, basically. But anyway, the choice may have been mistaken, the choosing was not. I think that's such a powerful, liberating, and educational, informative like thing from that idea that you were saying about sometimes in life you just got to move on. It's like, yeah, sometimes it's not that, like, there's power in being decisive or making a choice. Even if you make the wrong choice, there's a validity or a value to moving on, and a merit to it, even if you suffer in the short term or whatever, right? Or compared to just being apathetic or being stuck or paralyzed. And of course, all of these things, it's easier said than done. There are a lot of layers and a lot of depth to these kinds of ideas. But
and I also think that, like, in Act 1, even though it's like literally him making this painting for years and years and years, the way, like, what I remember watching it, and I was like, this is not, like, I don't relate to it just as an artist. Like, I relate to this as like a workaholic. Like, my dad was a workaholic all my life, and I was just like, I see my dad in that. and he's not an artist, he's a contractor. And so I was like, I feel like this reaches into so many people's realities in terms of like having these very like, you know, capitalistic, very like productivity driven society that we're in, that it's just like so relatable because both Georges are going through these things, whether or not they're artists. I think both James and Sondheim, like they leaned into this because they related to George's story and saw themselves as artists. But I feel like you can make the narrative about a completely different profession and it's still really interesting. Though,
yeah,
the composition of the music with how he paints, like, just kills it. Like, the staccato when he's doing the pointillism, like, that's delicious.
I briefly peeked at the Jake Gyllenhaal production. I wasn't a fan of his scattered little, I'm just going to throw dots everywhere. I don't care where the dots are. Bing, bing, bing.
Huh? What do you mean? Jake put every dot where it needed to be.
Nah. Yeah. He was being random with it. He was just kind of like throwing it out.
Controversy of Jake Gyllenhaal's production.
What his production?
Controversy?
There is a controversy.
Why?
So they
because he's random.
No.
That's it, guys.
No. Aside from the scattering of the dots. No, there was a few interns on the show that he like kind of allegedly assaulted, and people were blaming the fact that like COVID was the reason why they didn't extend the run into like one of the theater houses. But I think from all the like the reports I've read, it was because of the interns that came forward to be like, he was a creep. Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. There's like a Vogue article about it. It's kind of, it sucks because I remember when it was announced, I was like, oh my God, Jake Gyllenhaal, he's like so great. And like to hear that.
Glad I found that out after his performance renewed my interest in the material.
Yeah, I know. No. Same. No, same. Yeah, it was really exciting. And to hear that is just sad.
That's yeah. Well then.
Oh anyway. Well. But speaking of other productions, did anyone, because we're all in Canada here, did anyone see the Eclipse Theater's mounting of it at the Chocolate Factory Theater?
No, I remember it happening. No. I looked it up this afternoon too because I remembered it was recent, and then it was like a week before all the shutdowns.
Yes, it was like right before COVID.
Yeah.
I went to see it because I've been like writing a musical about birds, and that's a whole other thing. But I was like talking to my writing partner about like how we can make the music like birds flying, and I was like, we need to go see Sunday in the Park with George because like Sondheim did that with the painting.
Yeah.
And we saw it. It was so cool. It was in this small intimate space, a bunch of young artists as the ensemble, so like very keen theater people. And it was just so immersive. Like it was like surrounding us. Like the art was, we were inside the painting with them. It was gorgeous. And they had a live painter painting something as throughout each show, which was wild. My only hang up was that the guy who was playing George,
Evan Bueling.
Do you guys know him?
I know of him from all the Shaw things.
Yeah, I've seen him in
and Stratford things.
I saw it on I think the second last night. He did not have his lines memorized. This man, this theater person, I was sitting in the second
Classic
row,
Evan.
And
Classic Evan.
This sketchbook throughout the entire first act.
No.
His highlighted script in his sketchbook. It's the second last show. Why don't you have your thing memorized? You kept looking
Lisa
down.
said, I came here today to expose.
My friend Jess.
Say his name.
Say his name.
Say his name. Learn your damn lines.
Drag him.
Learn your damn lines. But I will say, learn your damn lines. I will say one thing. Like it is a difficult like piece of theater to memorize as George. Like the things that Sondheim wrote in the lyrics, like so quick, so fast, whatever. But I'm like, you're from Shaw. Learn your lines. What the hell? Anyway, it was an amazing performance. Otherwise, he did do a very good job. He's a very talented actor. I want them to remount it because it was such a special performance. I've never seen a musical in that such like immersive setting before. And the choreography, like that's something I missed in this version. There's like no dancing, and I love a good like dance kind of feel in a musical.
Where and how did they put in dancing?
I can't remember.
Well, there are opportunities for Dot, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
And
And,
the
like-
ensemble could join, but
Yeah, there was like a piece at the end of Act 1 where like he's trying to like make the composition,
Oh, right.
and
yeah,
they did this beautiful like movement piece that I was like, James Left Hand can never.
Oh, actually, no. Now that you say that, the Jake slime tutorial, I wouldn't call it
Saturday
Yeah.
on
Saturday
beach
on the
with
beach
Steve.
with Steve is what it's
Not
called
the,
here
just
on
on
the
beach.
my
Not
God.
on the.
when it comes to that point at the very end of Act 1, when everyone's screaming at each other, then he silences them and then like orders them. The movement there, I guess it's choreography, but it's not dance necessarily, but just the staging and the movement is
Yeah.
it's so simple and it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's so much opportunity for staging this material. And oh wait, hold on, we have a comment. So I've been inventing the color printer for tape. That's hilarious. But on the topic of kind of directorial choices, yeah, I think the material has so much opportunity. One thing that I've been sitting with a lot for the past few days is the choices for the double casting, especially in the original production versus how I would do it. I don't think the double casting makes any sense.
Really?
I think, yeah. I said what I said, Alex.
Like, let's hear it. Why
Okay.
doesn't it make sense? What would possible reason?
I think there are clear parallels between Act 1 characters and Act 2 characters that should be double cast, and it wasn't done in this production. I don't think it's generally been done ever. Like, there's three, really. There's three. First off, I don't think Dot should play Marie. I think Dot should be Elaine, the wife, the ex-wife. Like, that's obvious.
Okay.
I think the mom should be Marie, because Act 1 has all those moments that I think we forget about because we're so focused on George and Dot. But George's relationship with his mom, and trying to figure out what that is, and them trying to connect, is a parallel I feel between George and Marie, because they also don't see eye to eye, even though there's love there in Act 2. And even Marie saying, "Oh, I wish Elaine could have been my granddaughter. I wanted this to work out so badly." There's a little bit of that implied, I feel, between George's mom and Dot, or at least there has been in stagings that I've seen. The Jake and Annalie one again.
Script-wise, George's mother doesn't calls George, the women that George is with, like harlots and stuff or something like that. But anyway.
Well, in the Jake production, it's staged so that like she's meeting the baby when Dot comes to say goodbye for the last time, and right before they have that moment. And I also feel Jules should be double cast as Alex in Act 2 instead of the soldier being Alex, because you have a character who is a competing artist / kind of casual professional friend with George in Act 1, and then you have that literal same character in Act 2 through Alex, who's the other guy who like didn't get the funding or whatever, but it's the soldier and not the person who was playing Jules in Act 1. I just feel for how short those appearances are in Act 2, I think you need to play by Wizard of Oz rules so that you can appreciate how those relationships are different and or similar after 100 years have passed. But I feel the Dot and Marie thing is purely because it was Bernadette Peters, and that role has become one that like that type of performer gravitates towards. So like when you do this show, you get whoever you have available that is like your equivalent of Bernadette Peters. Like if we do it here at the Shaw or the Stratford Festival, it would be like Alexis Gordon or something. Like you get that person
when she's back from New York.
I thought her show got
when she has time for the little candy.
Yeah.
Did it?
So she's available to do Sunday. There it is. But yeah, I think that's why the double casting happens that way. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the double casting?
I kind of agree with you in terms of the Marie casting, though You know what? Like, I would be okay with Dot not being a double casted role because, like, she has such good stuff going in Act 1 and then the huge move on number. Like, I think making her the ex-wife is, I don't know. I think it makes it too like ham-fisted almost.
Yeah.
But I do agree that the mom playing Marie in the second act is a strong choice, especially since like Beautiful in the first act really like, I don't know, parallels almost to Children in Arts. And I think that would be like a very nice kind of thing for an actor to explore. With all the other ones, I mean, I don't really care about any other ensemble characters. Like I love seeing Star Trek's Data in this production of
who was Data?
he was the German
Okay.
Liebchen.
yeah. And then he was, I don't know, he was the Chromaloom's constructor in the second.
Yeah, he was the assistant. He was the guy who came with.
Oh, the assistant. Okay.
Yeah.
One who goes back to NASA.
Other than that, like I can't really like wrap my head around the rest of the ensemble. I'm like, meh.
Yeah, there's so many of them. It's funny that there's a Star Trek person in this production because in the Jake and Anna Lee production, what's her face? Phil. It starts with a P. Philippa? No, it's not Philippa. Something.
She from Star Trek?
Yeah, the lady from original Star Trek, not Next Generation, but original Star Trek. She was the mom. Yeah, she was the mom, and yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So just there's this constant like, thread of Star Trek.
Wilson from House MD is in the Jake Gyllenhaal production. But anyway.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so is Ashley Park from Emily in Paris.
Yes.
And Mean Girls. And my top choice to play Glinda in the Wicked movie, but that didn't happen. So
Ashley Park.
So good.
Ashley Park would have been phenomenal.
I know. My dream cast was her and Ariana DeBose, which I love Cynthia. I love Cynthia. And she's gonna be amazing. But still, Ariana plus like that pairing, I feel
would have been solid.
So good. Yeah. There's actually a video of the two of them with a bunch of other Broadway people doing an a cappella rendition of Not Ready to Make Nice from the Chicks in Central Park in reaction to something sad that was happening politically or in news.
Alleged assault.
It could have been very well. So
I'm loving that Lisa is like, because it's necessary. No. It is fully necessary to call out people on their BS. But I'm loving that Lisa's spearheading
alleged BS.
Alleged BS. Alleged.
I believe the interns.
Know his lines though.
There you go. I was gonna say that wasn't alleged. That was
say his name.
Say his name.
Can we also say Ramin Karimloo because he forgot some lines at a concert I saw him in once? So can we say Ramin Karimloo's name too?
Hold on.
Ramin Karimloo, the Iranian Canadian.
Yes.
Oh, I
say his name.
I have another.
Sorry, not Double Your Bunny. That was last week. Okay, there we go.
There's another Canadian artist who speaking of Mean Girls, I'm not going to name names though because I don't want to call her out because she's a lovely human being. But I did a little drop-in gig with her one time, and
oh my god, I know who it is.
You need to say her name.
I think I know who it is.
Say her name.
I feel really bad because she's so lovely. But to her credit, she sang a very beautiful rendition of "Children Will Listen." Wasn't the lyrics that are in the show, but it was very beautiful. And it's I'll say her name. It's Sharon Matthews.
Oh, that's not who I thought it was.
No, that's okay. But it was amazing. I was like, she forgot the words, but the words that were coming out were great. I'm like, good for you.
Yeah, at least you didn't fumble.
Exactly. She's an icon. But it was so funny. I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh wow, okay, good for you.
As a person who knows the lyrics to "Children Will Listen," that was not it.
Yes.
You're like, I'm clocking that.
I'm clocking that, Sharon. Come on.
That's how I feel anytime I see Into the Woods, because I just know it so well from start to finish that if something's off by like even musically, if they're not with the music by a beat, I get really annoyed.
That's how I felt watching Hamilton. Like, I love the Rewind song "Satisfied." Mm-hmm. Like, I know Renee's version so well that when I went to see it in Toronto, I was like, this girl didn't come in at the right time. Not Renee.
Say her name.
I don't remember her.
Okay, well.
She's not Canadian. We can.
Nah, it's true.
Yeah, it was a touring show. It's fine.
Let's talk about the Chromaloom
Oh God.
Yeah.
because
Act 2
I think-
apologist, Chromaloom included.
I mean,
I will die on the Chromaloom hill. We need the Chromaloom. More
This is the point of the
Chromaloom.
show where we ask the audience to get hashtag Justice for Chromaloon trending.
Justice for Chromaloom.
Yeah.
First off, I don't think Jake 2.0 is a good artist, but based on this production, based on the James Lapine laser show Chromaloom, I think he got his opportunities through nepotism. And
George
being
2.0
related to
is that what
George.
you meant to say?
Yeah, George 2.0. Sorry, whatever. Yeah, second
Said
George. Oh well, whatever. J names.
I was like,
Jake,
who are you talking
James,
about?
George.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he got his funding and his opportunities through nepotism, and I feel like I said this to Finn today on Instagram when we were discussing the show because he couldn't make it. I said, I'm annoyed that they funded 6, if not 7 Chromaloons when they should have stopped after Chromaloom 2. And someone else in the Sunday in the Park with George universe, there's another artist whose project didn't get funded, and we don't even get to see their musical because of the stupid Chromaloon.
I know, they were like, you had your time, bro.
Well,
So-
it's in the script. Like, George is like the Act 2 George, as far as I've interpreted and read from the lines, like he is effectively in a way it's a continuation of George Surratt, like where the way they talk about Act 2 George, he was an original artist. He came out, he combined all the different trends. Like he's supposed to have had success and made a splash, if you will, and then now he's in the rut. Now he's like writer's block. Is kind of Act 2 George. That's the way I've interpreted it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's kind of like, again, they do, like they say, he's an original, was. I like the images, some. So like, even if we just take that first little bit, like original was, like, yeah. So all that is to say, you don't have to come up with the nepotism argument. You can, and it's valid.
Well, no,
but
like
you can also just
they
say that
outright
George
say, I was
did good
commissioned
art
because they think I'm related to him to do a piece specific to
About
Honor the Park piece.
I don't remember that. I remember him saying that I have a special connection, and and like he keeps talking about the alleged and tenuous connection. Like he doesn't really give it when he's talking about the connection. From what I remember, he kind of tries to, as much as he can, basically say it's only like it's not as, I can't prove it. It's not something that whatever. But
yeah,
I
then, like,
believe you if it does
I
come up.
have the book, and he's like, it's not like we don't know. What the real thing.
Yeah, calm down, mother or grandmother.
Yeah.
She's crazy. Sorry, she's insane.
Yes, grandmother. Back
She's
to bed with you.
calling me by another name. Like, yeah.
But-
I
Yeah,
don't
so I'm not sure, Matt, what you're referring to specifically in terms
No, like
of...
he does. He has a line where he says they commissioned me to do a piece inspired by Sunday in the Park, whatever, Legrand, because of
based on my tenuous connection.
Yes.
Yeah, and at most that gives justification to that particular piece as opposed to his whole like career prior. But what were you going to say, Lisa?
I also think it's fun. Like, I think it's a great conversation to be had with funding bodies and people who control where the money goes in the arts world, because people are paying him to make these Chromaloons. Like, whether or not he's related to George, people are like, make more Chromaloons.
I want to meet.
Chromaloons.
I want to
Not
meet the people with that disposable income.
Yeah, like they're not saying, what else is in your vision? Like, what else are you interested in doing? They're like, no, it has to be Chromaloon. And then he tried to stop doing it at that Texas commission. He literally says, I didn't take the Texas commission because I don't want to be making Chromaloons for the rest of my life.
Number 8, yeah.
Number 8, yeah. So I think the whole putting it together, and the second act when his assistant is like, yeah, I'm quitting, is literally about how, in my interpretation, how people with money are like making artists do what they don't want to do. And I see it as a producer. I see it when like I submit grants in terms of like, yeah, the Canada Council for the Performing Arts, like they really want us to focus on this type of theme. And it's like not anything that the artists are actually creating in the field right now. But the funding bodies, the foundations, the family foundations that have all of this generational wealth, they want to see specific things. And it's just so frustrating because these people who have control of the money don't understand art.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I think I would hate to say it, but I'm gonna say it. They're like worse than art critics in a way, because at least critics are like saying yes, whether it's good or bad or whatever, but they're not the ones ultimately like funding the artists at the end. It's the funders who are giving them the commissions and the time for them to explore their artwork. And it's not the artwork that a lot of the artists want to be exploring anyway. So yeah.
I mean, I think part of my disdain for Chromaloom is specifically what Chromaloom is in this production, like the James Lapine, the original, the laser ball thing. I feel had Chromaloom been staged differently, which it has, I might feel otherwise. But yeah, my general thoughts are I get what they were doing, that they were trying to create 1980s George as an artist who was, like, say, ahead of his time. It wasn't being appreciated in his own time like George Seurat. But now we're like 30 plus years on, and I still don't appreciate fictional George 2.0 with his laser machine. So like in the 1990 production in England, it was a performance art piece, which is more something I could get behind. And like I could appreciate an artist who does like a mixed media thing with performers and with projections. And to me, that's a Chromaloom that I like. So I'm curious, what would everyone's ideal Chromaloom be? If you were directing this show, what would your Chromaloom be? I have mine.
I know exactly what mine would be.
Let's hear Lisa's.
It would be something with projections. Like I love like projection design, and I would want to work with a projection artist to like create something that can be made through like video and graphic design and like projection mapping. Because I think the way that like theater has been evolving in the last few years with projection design is something so magical. Like you can do anything with projections and it's still in a live space. Something with projections.
Nice. I would want to fill a room with smoke, which I'm taking a page out of Mark Andrada's book because he was talking about how he did a Cheshire Cat effect when he was in high school. I would fill a room with smoke and then have a bunch of laser pointers of all different colors rigged up so that they could just shoot straight laser beams and then recreate the painting in a whole room of smoke that you could walk through with the lasers composing the image. Nice. Taking up an entire physical space would be my Chromaloom.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's my Chromaloom. Alex, Ben, what's your Chromaloom?
Something that I like in modern art right now is taking a pile of garbage, and depending on where the light is shining onto it, it creates an image.
Oh, I love that.
So creating an image, again, throwing it back to pointillism being a bunch of different colors making up one color, a bunch of different objects coming together to create a cohesive image, for me would be like the ideal Chromaloom. Yeah.
This is a very interesting question because my like interpretation of the Chromaloom has actually only in this most recent viewing kind of shaped up to be what it is now, which is to say that previously I just interpreted the Chromaloom very similar to the way you described your ideal Chromaloom, Matt, which is that I always kind of thought of the Chromaloom as an extension of the George Seurat theory of color and light, and being like, okay, well, what if we just use colored lights, lasers, to create the art? And so in my mind, I always interpreted like the staged version as just kind of doing their interpretation of that, and it was always kind of lame in that sense. But yeah, in my mind, it was like something to that effect of like whether you have some kind of maybe like even projection mapping where you have like the original art and then you use projection mapping to like change the intensity of the colors on the art and augment it that way, or whether it's you shoot some kind of lasers through the art piece and enhance the image that way, or whether you just use straight up light without a canvas to create the image or whatever. However, it was always there, but I recently kind of really paid attention to the immediate dialogue after the final Chromaloom presentation where the gentleman says something like, I don't know how that relates to the artwork, because then it switches.
Yeah, it's a theme and variation.
Exactly, right. It's that discussion. Well, it's a theme and variation. So it's in the script, which to me, I'm like, okay, well, that kind of destroys my interpretation or my previous interpretation, because it's in the script that it's not supposed to be obvious how the Chromaloom is connected to the artwork, or at least not obvious to everybody. And it's like it's supposed to be confusing enough to generate that discussion of, that theory, it's a theme and variation. So then my mind goes to, okay, so the Chromaloom, rather than being like a substitute to the art or even a direct enhancement, like having a direct physical connection to the art piece, it's supposed to be something that's conceptually, thematically paired with the art. I.e., let's create a laser machine that's colored lights to demonstrate this connection between color and light, that George Seurat's theory, and color and light, my laser machine. So all of that being said, my favorite still is like the interpretation that I originally had. Like I want a Chromaloom, like what you said, Matt, basically. Probably not like you said, I don't want a smoke-filled room. I would maybe pick I really like the projection mapping. Yeah, I really like the projection mapping idea, and I think you can do so much cool things with that. Like take the original canvas and then do something on top of it and make it funky that way.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, Lisa?
I just the structure in this version that we watched is like so 80s.
Yeah,
it reminds me of the thing at the science center that you touch and then your hair goes out.
Like it just reminds me of like really shitty Vancouver public art.
It's opening day. Matt will appreciate this. It's opening day Epcot.
Yes,
yeah.
It is 100% opening day Epcot.
Yes. Yeah. Like it's not pretty to look at. Like if I were to go the route of like I need a practical set piece for the Chromaloom, then I would just make the sculpture like a little bit pretty, a little bit more not 1980s.
Saturday on Beach with Steve does a very pretty thing with the Chromaloom.
Oh yeah.
I don't like it just because it's not like, it's less of a thing I can point to, and it's more of like a setup that like it's not like, a machine.
I liked it, but I questioned how it was going to move to France. When they said,
we're
taking it to the island.
You move
like,
the
show. Are you moving?
Yeah.
All those pieces? All those?
Yeah. So spoiler alert, it's a bunch of like light bulbs, I think, that they just basically on like flies or whatever. So
it almost looks like a drone show. It almost looks like a drone.
Yeah, because they do it in the dark. They do all the lights off, and then it's just these lights hanging on, flies or whatever. And there's a bunch of them. There's like 50 or 100, and they all change color and they move in different fun patterns. So it's visually very cool, very like nice and pleasing and aesthetic and spectacular, but it's very much it's like, hey, color and light, here's some color and lights. Which
I
don't know.
I don't remember what Eclipse Theater did for the Chromaloom. Like I'm trying to look up archival photos of it and they don't have it. I'm just like trying to remember.
Chromaloom, man, big part.
Yeah, it's a big part, and for some reason I don't remember it. Yikes.
Maybe that's because at the time when you should have been paying attention to the Chromaloom, you saw Evan Buelling's script. He was going ahead. He was like, here's my chance to look at my lines ahead.
Evan did not have the sketchbook prop. He had
were his lines written out on the Chromaloom? Is that
no? He had Marie's book, like the entire act. Like Marie gave it to him, and he had 4 lines.
Oh my god!
Oh no!
I swear on my life, I did not have the show memorized. I wish I had a photo of it. I should have stuck a photo of how dare Evan.
Yeah, I should have bootlegged it.
I need like a WWE artist rendition of Lisa and Evan now. Lisa flying down with trying to grab the book out of his hands.
Yeah, just doing the speeches and
how dare you?
Oh man.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Who's ready for the game?
Ooh.
Yeah, game.
Well,
Is there anything else that we want to talk about?
Let's just do quick shout outs if we're
okay,
gonna move
okay.
to the game.
Oh no! Like we can talk about other
There's
things too.
so much. Let's go.
There was one quick thing, and I'm
Mhm.
sure
Yeah.
this is a universal thing. How quickly everybody moves on as soon as they've appreciated something,
Mhm.
and like, wow, this is incredible. This person's incredible. We love their work.
What are
And
you talking
then they release. So, for example, someone releases their first album, and it's incredible, and we love what the themes they're discussing and the lyrics and everything. And they release a second album, and people go, okay, well, the first one, you can't outdo that one, and now we've seen this. Like, what's new from you? And the third one, people are done, and they've moved on, and suddenly there's no value to that person anymore, and it's disheartening. Again, without being able to separate the art and the artist.
Okay,
How
did
quickly-
you find that yeah, good.
I find as when they're talking about his seventh chromaloom that he's putting
Mhm.
together, they when they talk about him being a visionary at first, and now he's kind of producing the same garbage. It's hard to hear that, I guess, as an artist watching it, because your biggest fear is people looking at you and devaluing you based on what you have to offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, artists have it rough out here, guys.
We do. We really do.
Sucks.
I'm curious if that because that's an interesting lens to view like second act George under, because you would probably agree that the primary, like the superficial or the most like the obvious kind of interpretation or portrayal or interpretation of sort of the seventh chromaloom is, or maybe you don't, but I always interpreted that as him like just being stuck on trying to get like something that he cares about just right, and he keeps trying and keeps doing changes, and so that kind of leads into the move on, like don't, like you're stuck, you're trying to do the same thing, and that's what Data tells him, like, dude, I don't want to keep making chromolooms, like I want something new, you don't have to do the same thing all the time. And George's response to that initially is, I know, but I want to do something that I care about. And so you can see that there is a struggle, that like George isn't just necessarily like he's not just making chromolooms necessarily just for money, and he's not making like he's experiencing a legitimate challenge as an artist. Like he's stuck, he wants to do things, like he says, that he cares about, and he sings it in the lines, like I want to make things that count, things that would be new, something of my own. And it's easier said than done. Like, how do you do that? And the solution proposed by Phantom Dot, if you will, is to move on. Sounds easy. But yeah, go. Don't stop with the chromolooms already. But like to your point, Ben, like that is interesting, because you're totally right in the sense that totally is a phenomenon for artists. Like there is a phenomenon of, as you produce more material, there people, especially if you produce something very popular, at whether it's at the beginning or later on, like once you've made that big popular thing, like there is constant comparison to it, and there is, as an artist, there's that like almost paralleling the like capitalist corporate phenomenon of always got to make more money, always got to get more profits, doesn't matter, like that's the goal, doesn't matter what we do, how we do it, just more money every quarter. It's like, as the artist, like no matter what I do, I got to get better, I got to do a bigger, more spectacular thing. I made it to Broadway, what I do now, and that's kind of an often we hear some stories from artists who achieve the thing that they thought was going to be it, and then it's like, oh shit, it's not it. Like I didn't, I'm still insecure and anxious, and I don't know what my next job's going to be or whatever. And it's like, there's a lesson there. So all of that being said, I'm curious to what extent we can like read into that in this musical. Like I'm wondering how much Act 2 or the musical kind of explores that particular phenomenon. Like I'm curious. I have no idea. I'd have to like rewatch it with that lens and see what what the script does, what the actors do. But
well, at least for
really
Act 1, George, I don't know if it directly relates, but they do make the point of he sold nothing in his lifetime, and like he also didn't create that much. It's just a matter of the fact of, after the fact, we're able to appreciate how revolutionary it actually was. So, but no, I don't know, like thinking
that's a brilliant thing, actually.
Oh yeah.
I was just gonna to comment on that briefly, because Act 1 George does say a couple times at least that he why should I create what other people want me to create?
Yes.
So he constantly kind of communicates that he doesn't care what people want or is popular or whatever.
Yeah.
But we know George is the kind of person who doesn't necessarily own up to what he actually thinks and feels. He doesn't necessarily that's at least my interpretation of George. And so I would potentially connect that to what you were just saying, where it's I mean, we see it too. There is that interaction. I think the final interaction between him and Jules, where Jules says, "Let's cut to the chase. You want me to basically recommend you, put you in the group thing?" And George, kind of he's "Yeah, that's what I want. You're right." So it's maybe there's something to there, and I think that there probably is, where there's something where George is yeah, he says he doesn't care or shouldn't be dictated by what people want, but he also knows that there is something there. There's something to that, or at least if you want to get your art seen or whatever. So that's
well, I think with Act 1 George, it's also, I don't think it's that he doesn't care about what people think. It's that he wants them to be as excited about his work as he is when he's telling Jules, look, the dots, it makes a color. It's why aren't you as excited about this as
I want you to understand. Yeah, he says in the script. It's all in the script.
It's all in the script. I'm sure it is.
Just read the script.
I just don't care enough about this
read
show
the script out loud.
Read the script.
But
now I want to, previously, but but then into Act 2 George, I know maybe it's again because I'm not super, or I haven't historically been super invested in the show, so I might have missed it, but I don't really get a sense of what Act 2 George is passionate about, because there is first off, I think it's a flaw of the writing that we don't really get to know him that well, because we see him in his presentation and then we have putting it together, then him reflecting on Marie dying, but I never really get a sense of what kind of art he wants to create outside of, I'm so stuck in making chromolooms. It's ideal world, what do you want to do, George 2.0?
I think that's the whole healing process that he's going through, right? I mean, obviously it would be nice to see what type of artist he actually is after Move On and what he actually creates, but I think that's a whole other musical then, right? I think that's Act 3 at least.
Yeah. My suggestion or interpretation. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say Data, the assistant, during when they were constructing the loom in France, he literally said, he was the reason I'm quitting is because it's easier to work at NASA than to be an artist. And I was bro, that is such a relatable thing.
Yep. There's just too much pressure in this line of work.
If you think any other place is going to have less pressure than your artwork, you're probably right. It's so funny. Anyway,
and to what Ben was saying too, in that that certainly I think partly comes out of the fact that as an artist, oftentimes the art is you, whether it's you physically on a stage or it's your personal expression in the form of painting or drawing or whatever. It's you're putting your expression and your creativity to be judged and determined and deemed worthy or not. And that's kind of in contrast to, I mean, people create things in other industries too, but there's a difference. There's a difference between, here's the programming code and the language and just create the thing and it works and it doesn't work. Art isn't about functionality usually, and that kind of a thing. But I just wanted to say briefly, which that I think I said it before, but I think my personal, the way I do it in terms of Act 2 George is I do treat it like a continuation of George Seurat. I basically just imagine it's George, not literally, but I just kind of basically say Act 2 George, he was a successful, interesting artist. Well, he was a successful artist who did something cool like George Seurat did, let's say, and then he's now kind of experiencing writer's block type thing. So that's kind of my offer, if that helps anybody. You kind of make sense of that. And then briefly, go ahead.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you contextualizing whatever mess my brain is.
I do want to comment on the dot thing too, because the I don't know that anybody else kind of feels like the dot coming back to Act 2 George makes sense. But to me, my interpretation that's always worked from the beginning is I don't see that as literal. I see that as George reading the book and reading Dot's notes, and through those notes, he's basically reliving and kind of finding that catharsis and the lessons that Dot.
This is another reason that I think it should be Elaine, because he's coming to terms with his ex.
Right. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, but I don't agree.
Yeah. No.
And I think it's powerful having Dot in that.
But Alex, see, this is the conversation that like Steven and James need to have with a dramaturge of like making that clear, right?
Yeah.
Act 2, specifically when Dot reappears, like how are we going to visualize this? Because as a viewer, we can piece that together. We're not like they didn't help the audience get there.
Oh no,
I think
like
super
jarring when she comes out of nowhere.
I think what's weird with it is that for me as a viewer, I can understand Dot thinking that it's George because it quite literally is the same actor. It's the same genealogy if we're believing that element of it. But then the hiccup for me is how come George is just okay with this ghost thing showing up, and like maybe it's, as Alex said, is in his mind as his way of manifesting almost the experience of reading her notes. But again, that's why like if I was directing it, I would just have it be Elaine, the ex-wife.
Person in a book costume.
Or person in a book costume. Exactly. Because I feel like that whole exchange and Move On is about closure for both of them. And Dot is getting it because George to her is George. The piece that is missing for me is Act 2 George having some kind of investment in who Dot is, unless it's Marie.
I mean, it's her is great grandmother, right? Like I think like that connection is still strong enough, but I get how it's more loose than the other way around. Yeah, and
also just because Move On is written to, and I'm directly quoting Steve again from the documentary I watched yesterday, their unfinished duets previously. So in Act 1, anytime they're singing together, it doesn't actually end or resolve, and it's planting seeds. I think musically, or he didn't go into detail. He just said everything is unresolved, or everything is unfinished. Maybe he didn't say resolved, but he said unfinished. That was the gist that they sing in Act 1 with the intent purpose of when you get to move on, it's bringing back themes and things that we've heard previously, and then it's tying it all together so that you can get to a beautiful conclusion to the love story between those two characters. So again, that's why for me, I want her.
That's
to be
interesting.
double cast
Stephen Sondheim
talked
about that. He specifically said the love story, like it's that Move On kind of because that's the thing. Like I personally didn't have an issue of like conflating like the two.
Well, he said that Move On has two meanings, but he didn't say what they were. He just said it has two meanings, and he focused on that it is at least in part resolution of the love story between them. That's not could,
and that's true. Like like she does talk to him as George, and so like as old George. So you kind of like it is there. It is there.
There wouldn't be Move On without We Don't Belong Together, which originally I think it was like the last song in Act 1 that was added because like they were not focusing on Dot's storyline, and Bernadette Peters was going to leave the production because she was like, this character is not it for me.
That's why they gave her Marie.
And that's why they gave her Marie. But she also was like, if George is finishing the hat, Dot needs a finishing the hat. And that was We Don't Belong Together, which is ultimately the beginning of Move On, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like if Bernadette did not say that,
we wouldn't have Moved On.
That.
Oh yeah, no. Like so many of his best songs came from actors saying something.
You need to do better.
Yeah, like Baker's Wife. Moments in the Woods came from Joanna Gleason talking to him about how Baker's wife felt something was off.
Yeah.
And then he wrote Moments in the Woods. Also, Kristen Zaz is here.
Hi, Kristen.
Hello.
Does it feature Cherry Ripe?
I wish it did.
Who's
my
Cherry
favorite song from that terrible Alice movie.
That amazing Alice movie?
Matt's allegedly Matt's favorite Alice in
Haven't
Wonderland.
No, my
version.
favorite movie, Alex.
of
My
all
favorite.
time.
No.
Oh God, I hope
No,
not.
no.
It's,
But it is. I do think it's my favorite Alice in Wonderland movie. It's so good. I love it.
I also enjoy that. Matt.
See, there we
I
go.
enjoy that
Why?
one.
I wish you were there
Oh,
for
no.
that show, Ben.
Sorry.
It was me and Kristen against the world.
Aw.
Yeah.
Well, the world being Alex and Jeanette. Was anyone else there?
I double booked myself, so no. But
Vince
I
was
feel
there
like-
in the comments, though.
I feel like I would have sided with Alex and Jeanette.
Oh, probably. I still think you would have
What
liked
a
the White
bad
Rabbit. He
movie.
was adorable. It was a
I'll
great movie.
watch it soon. I'll watch it soon.
It's a great movie. It's the best Alice in Wonderland movie. Yeah. Anything else you want to discuss about Sunday in the Park with George before the game?
No, I'll
Well-
share my thing for my closing thought after.
Ooh,
the game.
okay.
Oh,
I'll do quickly like some shout outs, just try to be brief of like little quick lines. So
Yeah.
because I there's so much writing that I find so funny.
Mhm.
So in the first right off the bat, like when in Sunday in the Park with George, like when Dot's posing, she has like a brilliant funny line where she says the ground could open, he would still say please. Like she's
Yeah.
sitting there. Anyway. Just I love that imagery of like literally, Satan coming, like the Armageddon coming, and then like George is like, please don't move. Just calm down, chin up.
I actually like that
Um,
line because moments before that, when he said please, that was when I clocked how much Mandy's portrayal of George was annoying me because the please felt so condescending.
Yeah.
And then when she mentioned that, I thought, okay, there. Clearly it's a choice. Good.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's kind of in the script too, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're born with pens and pencils, not pricks. The Boatman. Full disclosure. Not full disclosure. Self-promotional disclosure. I was the Boatman in Act 1 of the workshop production that I did.
Why
So I'm
were
also-
you cast as the boatman and then George? Why didn't you get cast as both Georges?
Yeah.
I asked the same question, Lisa, and that's basically the way it was. We
Right.
both Act 1 and 2. Nobody was the same role. I don't believe we all got like different.
Did
roles,
Doc get to
so-
play Elaine in Act 2?
Lisa,
No.
you'll get a kick out of this. The production,
Well, actually, I don't know who she got to play, but yeah, go ahead.
the
Jen.
production they did at Sheridan, the
Mhm.
cardboard soldier was played by an actual human being, a poor human being who
Oh,
paid
I don't like that.
$20,000 to go to musical theater school.
And you got to
In
play
his third year
Cardboard
production,
Soldier.
got to play the cardboard soldier.
That's
I'm-
actually what they
I mean-
did in
I mean, if he did it
Saturday at the
well.
Park with Steve. Saturday at the Park with Steve has a human being.
Oh, yeah?
as-
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
jeez.
that's supposed to. It's the gag. It's the joke. He's a cardboard.
Yeah, and if you see
Exactly.
the picture, it's like they're too close together. Nobody would stand that way, like in one in front of the other and stuff. Like it's a cardboard cutout. It's definitely somebody holding a cardboard cutout. That's just the way it is.
Shame on Sheridan. Say their
Shame on
name.
Sheridan.
Oh
Stay
no,
there.
I
Oh.
will. If we want to have a streamer
Want to shit
night
on
talking
Sheridan.
about Sheridan, we
We'll
can.
go off.
How do you
I
spell
will go
Sheridan?
SHERIDAN.
There we go.
Yeah.
Say
Say
their
the
name.
Say their name.
Okay, last line call out. I have more, but not take up too much time. The bread, George. I mean the bread,
Bread,
George. And then in bed, George. I mean he needs me. I mean like dough, George.
That's
Okay, whatever.
actually a
I think
lyric.
it's
Yeah.
yes. Bernadette's talking about
Oh.
Louis,
Yeah.
and it's in Everybody Loves Louis. And she's talking about how Louis needs her like bread.
Oh,
like
that's
dough.
clever.
Oh.
That's clever.
Hello.
And in
Nice.
bed.
Louis.
Oh yeah, that was
Anyway.
one thing. I hated how the hate that Louis was getting. Louis seemed awesome.
Louis,
I hated
I love
Louis.
Louis.
Everybody loves Louis.
George hated
No
Louis.
hate.
Yeah, George.
Who
I think that,
hates
yeah, George
Louis?
hates Louis. George, there's some
George
kind of
doesn't
line
hate
where
Louis.
there's a line where somebody, probably George, says that Louis's art of baking isn't worthy, or that's not the exact words, but
No.
that's
And
the
then she's
gist.
like, at least I can eat his
Yeah.
art. Yeah.
No. George may passive aggressively refer to Louis, but I don't think George ever directly criticizes him.
I
At most,
think-
it's when he's
There's
like, he
definitely a
talks
line
about how
where
you'll be
Louis's
very
art is
happy with-
equated to George's art, and the implication is that
I don't think it's George. I think that's Dot.
Maybe
Like,
it's Dot then.
talks about
Maybe it's
Dot
Dot.
talks about
The
art
fact that it
and, like,
happened, it rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, Louis is awesome, and Dot, you're
Yeah,
lucky
it's
to
Dot.
have him.
Yeah,
I think
it's
Dot
everybody
is
loves Louis.
Because like she clearly loves George.
Oh yeah,
But
And
Louis
Dot.
is the secure one, so she
Mhm.
feels like she's settling.
Well, yeah, not even security. He's the one who actually gives her gives her connection. Gives her an emotional connection.
He's
right?
He's going to be a good dad, and by all evidence, he seemingly was.
Yeah, and that's what that's George's passive aggressive kind of thing. Like Louis will make a great father, and I will not because I cannot lift my head from the page. Yes. Louis can definitely lift his head from the page. So have fun with Louis.
Oh gosh, the part where I wanted to slap George when he looks at her, he's like, "Oh, Louis going to take you in that condition."
Oof.
He doesn't say it that way. He says, "I'm surprised Louis took you in that condition." Hey, it's valid. It's valid. Louis is a cuck. And then he's just making an observation. He's just saying, I'm surprised that he's so chill about being a cuck. That's all.
This is my hot take. I think Dot should have ended up with Jules's wife. That's my hot take. Okay. Yeah. Because she when the couple comes to see George's work, and she's trying to be all nice to Dot, and Dot's like, "You're such an asshole, stop talking to me." I'm like, Dot, at least she's paying attention to you, and she's cute, so maybe you should hit on that.
Yeah, she talks about admiring Dot being painted or whatever.
And that
there you go.
She's coming along in her pregnancy. I'm like, wow, Jules' wife, very nice.
Where is the? You know what? I'm interested in the sapphic love story between Dot and the wife now. I need that musical.
Yes.
We can choose to believe that happened.
I want to believe.
Yeah.
I will go on.
She could have gone to America after Dot.
Yeah. Oh, the American couple. That's
right.
Oh my god.
They're great.
This French story had no French accents, but the Americans had hard Southern accents. It was iconic, and I love that the French did it. Amazing.
Yeah,
Everybody
they're great.
Loves Louis. All right, time for the game. Woo! All right, so get your drawing utensils out.
Okay.
So
drawing utensils.
I don't actually have my writing or drawing utensils. I need to keep score on my phone. Hold on. Alex.
Down in the park with George.
This man tells us to get a writing utensil and paper and is not prepared.
I know.
But again, you can use your phone if you want to draw. You can use your phone.
I'm using my phone. Don't worry.
There we go. So basically it's Pictionary again, as we've done on some previous rounds. So the way it will work is one at a time. I will show you, the person who's going to be drawing, a classic painting. It's like these are considered the top 10 most famous paintings in the world. You should have a frame of reference. Then the painting will go away. The other two people will look, and then you have to try to draw it. And then they have to identify what the painting is. So
oh no.
Yeah. So Lisa will go first. And so when Ben and Alex, you'll close your eyes. I'm going to show Lisa a painting. Lisa, you'll have 30 seconds to draw the painting. Then you'll show us.
Ben, not yet.
No, not yet. And then Ben and Alex, after you see it, write down the name of the painting. That will get you 1 point. And if you know the name of the painter, that will get you a second point.
Ooh.
Okay. And Lisa, you'll get a point for everyone who correctly identifies your painting.
Right. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So here we go. So everyone who's not Lisa, close your eyes. There we are. So Lisa,
I'm so scared.
This is your painting.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
All right. So everyone, we may now look. And Lisa, your drawing time starts now.
I don't even know what the painting is.
Good luck.
I know of it, but I don't even know the name of it.
How long does Lisa have?
She has 30 seconds, but right now she has 20 left.
30 seconds.
You have 30 seconds to draw.
George.
Like a minute.
Seconds.
No.
8, 7.
The park with George.
4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see the drawing.
Oh my god, this sucks.
That's why it's a fun game.
Okay.
Okay, so now Alex and Ben, write down the name of the painting and or the name of the painter.
Okay, hold on. Matt, can you get rid of that teacup for one thing? Because it's blocking her.
Okay, if I have. Well, it's the branding. Hold on.
I mean, that was fine. Oh, yeah, thanks, Lisa. TikTok.
I know the name of the painting, but all I can
Pepperoni,
think of right now is
cheese.
the painter.
The painter?
Oh, it's squiggle. Okay, I get it now. Okay, thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Um,
Did the TikTok help you?
it did
thi-
eventually, probably.
Going forward,
yes, it did.
Going forward, no writing words.
Come on.
I could gather that
I
that was a clock.
Thank you.
I did not.
Let's
The
start.
TikTok.
Let's start. Ben, what's your answer?
Oh God, I'm gonna kick myself if I'm wrong. This is what I have for painter and painting.
Salvador Dali, Disillusion of Time. Okay.
Right.
And Alex?
Squiggly
Squiggly Clock.
Squiggly clock 2. Oh, it's a question mark. Okay.
No, my question.
We were looking for The Persistence of Memory
Oh.
by Salvador Dali.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So
There we go. So Ben and Lisa, you both get a point
awesome.
Amazing.
because
Good job.
Dali was figured out. So there we go. Okay. Alex, it's your turn to draw. So Lisa and Ben,
Okay.
close your eyes. And oh wait, hold on. I have to get the next painting ready. There we go. And this is your painting, Alex.
Am I okay? Okay. Wait.
Okay, there we go. And now everyone can look. Alex, please start to draw. Go.
Sunday in the park with
George. Do. Red, yellow, green, red, blue, 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 red, purple, green, yellow, orange, red, yellow, green, red, blue, 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 red, purple, green, yellow, orange, red. 10 seconds, Alex.
I think I might
I will
add.
need 5.
I think I might add "Move On" as my
5,
karaoke duet
4,
song.
3,
Ooh.
That would be a
2,
good karaoke.
1.
Yes, it
That
would be.
would be a good karaoke duet.
Yeah.
I'll sing it with you.
Yes,
Yes.
Annette! I'll be your
Yes.
dog.
Brilliant. I'll be your George.
Amazing.
I'll accept you in that condition. Alex, show us your painting.
Okay.
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 Can I give hints?
No, your hint is the drawing.
Okay. I was gonna draw something in the form of a hint, but then I was like, this doesn't actually reflect the actual painting, but it does give you an indication of the subject. But this should be fine.
I'm just gonna point out, as Alex put up the picture, someone commented
You're
An
a
answer.
You're
the
Ben.
answer. So
Oh yeah. Don't look at the comments. Don't look at the comments.
just gonna.
You were such a big cheater.
I am definitely not. I do not exactly. That's why I've swapped away from comments, so I can't see anything now.
Good.
All right, let's see our answers. We'll start with Ben.
Okay, well, I knew that it was the girl with the pearl earring, but I had no idea who the painter is.
All right, Lisa.
Girl with a pearl earring, Vermeer.
Lisa, you got both of them.
Nice.
I got 3 points.
Yes, you did.
No, you get a maximum of 1 point if somebody else guesses.
Oh.
So he gets 2.
Huh?
Yeah. Oh no, Kristen,
Oh, I
keep
got
playing
you,
along. Keep playing along, Kristen.
No,
I
it's
encourage
okay.
everyone in the comments to keep playing along.
Oh, no, Kristen,
Yeah.
you're allowed to play along.
Yeah.
I just noticed it.
Ben is new, and I forgot to give him the briefing of don't read the
Sorry.
comments. But no, please, everyone, play along. It's fun. Or actually, Alex, do you want 3 points?
No. Well, I
Did you
mean,
get 3
that's my
points?
only chance of being competitive in this game.
No,
But
don't give him
I'll
3
stay with 2.
points.
No, I
Yeah,
feel like
give
no.
me
It
2.
should be a maximum of 1 point per correct guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the benefit, because then everyone per round has the opportunity to get up to 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's how it's fair. Okay. Next, Ben, it's your turn to draw.
Okay.
Everyone who's not Ben, look away. Here we are. Okay. This is your painting.
Stop worrying where you're going.
Okay.
You've won.
Okay.
Okay. We may
Oh,
all
God.
now look. Then we'll start to draw in 3, 2, 1. Go.
Oh, God.
If you can know where you're going, you've gone. Just
So-
keep
Already
moving
gone.
on. Look at
I
what you've
think-
done.
I think we should have a sing along for this month.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
You're welcome.
For
What can I say?
assassins.
It's okay. You're welcome.
I've never seen Assassins actually.
my gosh.
Vince and I are very
I
excited.
love assassins. There's not a professional recording, but there's a very good slime tutorial,
I'm excited.
which has subtitles, so it's easier to follow. Okay, time's up.
Oh frick. Okay, this is awful. I'm so sorry.
What the hell is that?
It's a person sitting down, maybe in some kind on a chair, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a structure in front of them. Maybe there's a window and a TV. Maybe they're just sitting in their living room and there's a
Mhm.
window and there's
Mm-hmm.
a TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what do we call that? What do we call that?
We call that. This is the one and only time I am on this show ever. I am no longer welcome back.
Answers, please. We'll start with Alex. Alex? You have Suburban Sprawl by Ben. Okay. Lisa?
I think I know the artist. I don't know the art piece. I think it's Whistler, and it is a woman sitting.
It is Whistler.
But what's the title of the piece?
Whistler's mother.
Oh, boring mom.
Oh, thanks, Bob. I'll be back, hopefully.
See, there's the original. That's what we were looking for.
That's tough. You captured it.
Okay, there's the window.
Yeah,
There's
see?
the curtain.
I like this. Kristen watching Teacup for One. Yeah.
Good.
All right, who's now? Lisa. Everyone who's not Lisa, look away.
Okay, hold on. Let me get my canvas
Okay.
ready. Let me get my canvas ready. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, here we go.
Ooh!
Okay, we can now look. Your time starts now.
Woo! This is fun. Thank you for giving me this.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for being a friend.
Woohoo! Oh
Oh
no, I don't think this is good.
It has to be better than whatever I drew.
I don't know. Yours was
5,
really good.
4, 3,
Different
2,
colors. Okay.
time.
Okay.
Oh,
Come on, you guys know this.
yes.
You know it. You know it. We were talking about it before.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking it is, but I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna write down. I don't know how you spell it. But...
I feel like I'm back in grade 1 again.
Okay, we'll start with Ben.
Okay, Starry Night Van Gogh.
Okay. Alex?
To prove that I put it there. You go.
Wait, I'm just writing the name down.
Okay.
Oh, well.
What did you say it was? You said something, and it wasn't that. It was. It wasn't Wilhelm. It was some other stereotypical German sound,
No.
but you weren't able to say it. What? Yeah, I can't think of it. So, in the interest of time, I'll just start.
Starry Night by question mark. Okay. Yes, it is Starry Night by Van Gogh.
Yes.
And I can't
You
remember-
lied to me.
What?
No, that was the Scream. I conflated it.
Yeah, you did.
Edward Munch's The Scream, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess-
Everyone who's not Alex, look away.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Oh,
It's your turn. It's your turn. Here you go.
all right. Yeah.
All right, hold on. Okay, everyone, we may now look. Alex, your time starts in 3, 2, 1. Draw.
I'm in love with Bernadette Peters so much.
Oh, me too. She's national.
Can
treasure.
we? I don't want to conflate. We should never do this for women at all. But can we talk about how good she looks?
No,
in
no,
her
he-
70s.
We can.
no. As the only
Now
woman here
then,
right now, I can say that is okay.
Okay, cool.
So
She looks incredible.
she's incredible. She's always looked incredible.
Alex, your time is up. Let's keep loving on Bernadette Peters though. But oh yeah, there.
Oh, well, there you go.
I don't know who made this piece, so this will be interesting.
What are the chances that was the next painting in the lineup? What are
Whoa.
the chances?
I mean, knowing you, the chances are pretty good.
How? How was I supposed to know that
Well,
you're going to bring it up?
Your trivia questions tend to be like in an order that's like very like I looked this up and then this came up next, so I just put this in that order. Like it's not indicative, like it's not an intentional order. Your orders for things are usually just
What did that have to do with the sheer coincidence of what was being discussed moments before I showed you what your pre-assigned...
Well, because the pattern, you've established a pattern of not intentionally creating an order. So the fact that this came up, it's like basically it's not an argument that the chances are better or worse. It's more so an argument that the chances had nothing to do with your intention.
Oh, I had no intention. I was commenting on the coincidence element.
No, I know, but there was, in my mind at least, there was an implication of like, coincidence or not, and I'm like, definitely not, definitely coincidence. Like it's not the not.
Oh yeah, no. There's no way that could have been planned unless I scripted it with you specifically to say conflate Van Gogh with this other artist.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Because I feel like you would.
Maybe, who
How
knows?
dare you?
Let's see our answers, Lisa.
The Scream. I don't know if it's by Dolly though.
Okay.
Visual artist.
Ben, what have we got? Yes, it is Edward Munch, The Scream.
There we go.
I
forget.
Should have mentioned that my brother is a visual artist, and so I can thank my history of art knowledge to him.
You have an upper hand in this game.
It's true. There's the original for reference. Now, everyone who's not Ben, look away. Look away. Who's not Ben? Okay.
I love you. Thank you.
Good. Oh, you're welcome. Okay, everyone, we may now look. Ben, start to draw.
Okay.
Can we talk about Mandy Patinkin for a second?
Oh,
yeah.
Always.
We love Mandy Patinkin.
Yeah.
Do you want to know a fun fact about Mandy Patinkin? So he used to be on Criminal Minds, and he was really good on the show. But then, like, the writing started to get really graphic and gruesome. So he was like, wrote to the writers to change it up, and they didn't. And he just like quit one day, not coming to sets. Like, how ballsy is that?
I mean, he is Mandy
Time's
Patinkin.
up, Ben.
Yeah, he is Mandy Patinkin.
He could afford to screw over people that way.
I was trying. Okay, so for context, I was trying to get the color of what's in the middle of the picture on my phone, and it wouldn't let me. So
I feel like this is a very graphic image I'm looking at.
Yes, it's very busty.
Hold on.
Right.
If I can figure out this color.
It's too late, Ben. That's the image.
No,
That's the
bring
image.
it back. Bring it back. Bring it back.
That's the image. You can't doctor it.
Bring it back.
No, I was just gonna change the color. That's all.
No, you can't. This is perfect. This is exactly what it needs to be.
I don't know what you were going for.
Matt discussed it earlier in the night.
He did?
Yes, it's one of his favorite painters.
What was it? Favorite painters.
One of his favorite painters painted this. It's a simplistic painting. Clearly, as shown by my crappy drawing.
Here, because I'm probably not going to get any points. I'll give you the hint that it was the second most likely the second painting he mentioned. He mentioned Van Gogh first, and then he said somebody else.
And then he said somebody else after. Yeah. That's the person.
And I'm guessing what I vaguely recollect as the name that he uttered.
Yeah, for future reference, I'll usually put outright hints, if not answers to the game, in my opening discussion. That's something I've started to do over the last few shows.
Matt, before they guess, I figured out the crappy thing on my phone. Here you go. The thing in the middle is green. There you go. There you go. See, I feel like...
Can't change your answer, Lisa. Show us your answer.
No.
Can't change it. What was it?
Wait, I need to edit my answer because that green changes everything.
Okay. Show me Show me your answers.
No way.
Alex, show me your answer.
You know what? Can I let them? I feel bad.
That Dusty Stick Flight Attendant by McNally.
By McNally.
Son of Man by Magritte. It is. How do you know the name of that painting, Lisa?
You were talking about it. And
Did I say
literally
Son of
said
Man?
it earlier.
Did
Yeah.
I say Son of Man? Oh, okay.
I only got that, Ben, because of the green. Because of the freaking green.
That's what I was like, Matt. I have to. I'm sorry. It's like
We're
it's
going-
so.
Oh,
I loved the original. I thought it was art on its own.
no, the
Okay.
green apple makes all the difference.
It's Lisa's turn. It's
Okay.
Lisa's turn. Everyone who's not Lisa, look away.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Matt, for going against your rules.
It's okay.
I'm
It's okay.
sorry.
Boom.
Oh my God. Vince said that I looked like these characters.
Time starts now.
Okay.
Alex, are you Pan's Labyrinthing?
Of course.
That's what I was wondering as well.
Of course.
Nice.
I feel like I've set that up,
Oh, you
There's a
did. It just
precedent.
it's been ages since you've labyrinthed.
but I don't think you've asked me to
Martha
cover my
Washington
eyes
for
since
one.
I've labbed.
Oh, you're right. I haven't. You're right.
Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
not on
I
the
think-
stream, not on the live show.
Yeah, no. That's
Yeah. No.
pillow talk. That's different. But
Yeah, of course, of course.
I don't even know the name of this.
3, 2, 1. Time's up.
Ah,
Um,
I don't know the artist's name.
Who does?
They got long faces.
All right. Answers, please. Ben.
American Gothic.
American Gothic. Couple with Man Holding Trident by Rembrandt. American Gothic is correct. There we go.
Is
Uh,
who did the piece?
Grant Wood.
Ah,
That
Grant
name means nothing to me. Now we know. Grant
Grant
Wood.
all right. I was right.
Yes. You got 2 points, Alex. You got 2 points. Yeah. No, you didn't. Okay. It's Alex's turn. Everyone who's not Alex, look away. Look away. All right. Oh, sorry. Hold on. I was in the wrong window. All right. Everyone, we may now look.
jeez.
Alex, start in 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm going.
Who screamed?
Me.
Oh, okay.
Me.
Me.
Me. Move on.
Stop worrying where you're going.
Okay, time's up.
No, that wasn't 30 seconds. You
Yes, it
ingrate.
was.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was 22, but now it's been 30 seconds. Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay. Wait.
What?
No, your time is up. Stop it.
What?
Oh, come on, guys. I gave you the hint, too.
You did? Scream? You screamed? Was that the hint? I don't know.
All right. Let's see our answers, please. We'll start with Ben.
Oh God, I wrote "Children in the Rain," but I don't know who.
Children in the Rain. And Lisa?
I don't know. The woods?
The Woods.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
There we go. Oh,
Is that
Alex, I had to
really
mute you because you were giving them too many verbal clues. But it looked like you were saying
Aw.
funny things. Yeah.
I
So-
was the whole time. It was pure comedy gold.
Yeah, what was it?
I was like, no.
Well-
Oh, Wilhelm. It's Wilhelm. Okay.
This is what we were looking for. We were looking for.
Are you serious?
Are you serious?
So
Shut
Oh,
up.
yeah. So how did he gave me 22 seconds first off initially. Second,
No,
off, what would you have done?
way.
I gave you
Where
trees,
was the
green,
monkey?
as if the monkey was the most iconic part of.
I was I was, as a joke, gonna put Sunday in the Park with George, but I was like, "There's no way."
What would you have done? I mean, you could have put a monkey on. I put a parasol. I gave you a goddamn parasol and dots.
That is a child with a leaf. That is not a
I'm
parasol.
sorry. I don't mean to be shitting on your time.
No, it's okay. You can shit on it. I was just I'm genuinely curious how this is not the most.
None of the
efficient
trees
use
look
of
like that in
time.
the painting.
Whoa, yo! So I can't draw like George Seurat. That's the problem. I couldn't replicate.
How many years to do this? And Alex
Yeah,
only had
two.
22 seconds.
Exactly. I think it wasn't bad considering. But okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I was so sure. I was so sure.
So sure.
I love the soul.
Okay.
That was great.
It's okay.
It's okay. Okay. It's Ben's turn to paint.
Oh God,
Everyone look
That's-
away.
it's never a good
Stay
sign.
away. Move on.
Okay.
Stop.
This is your painting, Ben.
Okay.
All right. We may now all
Okay, you
look.
gave her the answer.
Your time starts in 3, 2, 1. Go. I'll let you know when your 22 seconds are up. Do, 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 do. Finishing the hat. How you have to finish the hat.
To finish that. How you going to
Finish
finish
that.
the window? This one from that.
Mapping out the
Sky.
sky. What it takes to
Well,
live
kiss
in
a
the
look at the
sky.
sky.
Time's up, Ben.
In the sky, a window.
Let's see. 3, 2, 1.
Huh.
There's a visual clue.
There's a visual clue.
It's the smile. It's the smile. That's the clue. They're happy. Because you're happy.
Because
Clap
I
along
can't draw.
now if you want happiness. Because we're happy, clap along if you know that.
Happiness is the truth. I'm ready.
All right, let's see Lisa's answer. Mona
Yes.
Lisa by Da Vinci. Okay.
As
That's actually shit.
Alex, your answer?
What did you put, Alex?
What did you put, Alex? What did you put? What did you put?
No, I didn't. I wasn't saying her answer was shit. I was saying that's actually, and I stopped myself and said shit to myself because like it's good. I was gonna say that's a good, actually good answer.
Just show us your
Shit,
answer.
I should have said that.
What did you put?
Clay Man by Jackson Pollock.
Oh, Alex, you kill me.
Oh my God.
Oh my god. Holy moly.
Okay. Well,
Oh.
we were looking for the Mona Lisa. That's correct.
Oh God! See, that's what I was saying. That's what my reaction was like. That's actually a good answer.
It is a good answer because it was the right one.
Answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hoping you too
Yeah,
would have
that's
said
what-
that, Alex.
Okay.
I mean, if I wouldn't have, but I.
I know
Last
you
question
would.
of the
If I
regular
took my
round.
advice.
Here we go. Everyone who's not Lisa, look away. Lisa, you're the last one who gets to draw.
Okay.
Okay.
Ooh, I actually have this painting in my bedroom. Well,
Woot. Time starts now.
no, not ready.
I have to think of a bonus question because I didn't.
Uh-oh.
I know.
Why is there a tie?
No, but there's always a bonus question, Ben. There's always a
Ooh.
bonus
Yeah, and you
question.
should
That's
bet
fine.
all your points and
Yeah.
win big money.
Jeopardy style. Yeah.
Yeah. Oftentimes I win on technicality based
True.
on the
It's
rules.
not
of bonus.
technicality, it's strategy, and it
There
works.
you go. Look, I'm the bonus
Yeah.
question.
God.
And 3,
God.
2,
Oh my
1.
god.
10. Let's see.
This is so bad.
Oh, yes!
Okay.
I don't know who it's by, but I know what it is.
Do you?
I actually do.
I don't even know what it is.
You forgot the other people that are in it.
I didn't have time. It's so difficult. Just focus on.
This is what would happen if Keith Haring did this painting.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's 100%.
Yes.
All right. Ben, your answer.
Okay, I don't have the painter, but it's The Birth of Venus.
Okay. Alex?
I was kind of in the ballpark.
You said Aphrodite by Aristotle. You were kind of in the ballpark, but
Yeah.
no, it was
Aristotle too.
It's the Roman version of Aphrodite. Venus is the Roman name for Aphrodite.
Oh, okay, I'll give you
Like-
the point. No.
Who
My
painted it?
clam was
No.
much bigger.
Your clam took up the whole
It's
picture.
true.
She was sitting in the clam like,
You're saying
hey.
clam. It was great.
Yeah, she was hanging on. She was like lounging.
She was also very busty too.
And
She was
she
a
wasn't
very
as
busted
she wasn't
lady.
as modest as Venus is in this picture.
No, she
Here
was
Venus
like,
is
I'm
like
Venus.
Venus is like here. Yeah, Venus is like here.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Matt, who painted The Birth of Venus?
Oh yeah, good question. It was
Wasn't like
Sandro Botticelli.
Botticelli is Venus.
Botticelli.
I'm gonna count how many points do we have here. We have 1, 2.
Oh, please give Alex The Last Supper.
No. There's no more.
So Lisa has 13 points. Ben
I'm betting
has
12.
How dare you? Rob
Ben has
Morgan.
11.
Yes, I knew Lisa was gonna beat me.
And Lisa's betting 12. How many points do you want to bet, Ben?
Oh, how many do I want to bet?
Yeah.
I'm gonna bet 11.
Okay. And Alex has, hold on, 4. How many points do you want to How many points do you want to bet, Alex? 2. Okay.
Was I supposed to know that?
Yeah.
He did it very quietly and secretly.
It's okay.
All right, so we'll make this a 2-part question. Here we are. You have the opportunity. If you get one part of the question right, you double your points. If you get both parts, you triple your points that you've. bet.
Oh,
Yeah. Here we go. Okay, so. Oh wait, where'd Lisa go? Maybe she said something, but I wasn't paying attention.
and
She's
to
gone.
poor
Did
Lisa,
she die?
where are you, Lisa?
So your question is, who played Dot opposite Jake Gyllenhaal
Oh, blonde lady.
in Sunday in the Park with George? And
Yes.
I'm here.
what musical is she currently in on Broadway?
What?
Oh,
No.
I know both. Hell yeah.
So-
What's her
any
name?
Who played Dot opposite Jake Gyllenhaal in the most recent revival for one, like doubling of your betted amounts of points? And second part of the question, what musical is she currently in on Broadway? Ben knows.
I know. I love her. I love her
I do
so
too.
much.
And she
Can
loves
I-
Disney. So
I only know her first name, and I have someone to introduce everybody to.
oh my god!
This is Betsy.
Hi, Betsy.
Let's see.
Oh, she just wants to climb. Yeah, she's a little baby. And I think she would be a very good Dot.
She would be a perfect Dot. Oh,
Yeah.
she's so cute.
She's so cute.
She
So
is
cute.
beautiful.
Thank you. I think so too.
Love it.
Oh, my heart.
All right. Does everyone have their answers?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. We'll start with Ben.
No.
Okay. It is Annalie Ashford, and she's currently in Sweeney Todd.
You're correct, Ben, which means you tripled your points to 33. Okay, Lisa.
I didn't even write anything down. I just wrote Annalie.
Okay, I'll give you that. You've doubled. No, you haven't doubled. 13 plus 12, 25. You've bumped up your points to 25. There
Oh,
we go.
great. Thanks.
Alex.
What's the name of the blonde lady who did the Bridges of Madison County? Who is she?
Kelly O'Hara.
Oh, I love Kelly O'Hara.
All right.
What?
Kelly
You heard the correct
Oh.
answer. You're
Hera,
And what is she in right now on Broadway?
currently in Disney.
In Disney.
Yeah, because she loves Disney. So
No,
I figured
no,
she's
An-
probably in
Annalie Ashford loves Disney.
No,
Does
I know,
Kelly-
but I was operating on the assumption that Kelly
Okay.
O'Hara.
Also loves Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kelly O'Hara. She was also from the Pajama Game revival with Harry Connick Jr.
Oh, really?
I believe
Yeah.
that. I didn't know that,
Yeah.
but I believe that.
Yeah. Anyway, Ben won. Woo!
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ben.
Woo!
33 points. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That
All
might
right.
be a high score.
I think it is. Any closing thoughts for Sunday in the Park with George?
Oh my god, I do, but
Okay.
Yes.
I need to control this ham.
Okay.
Okay, my final thought is just a little tidbit, a little historical fact that at the Tonys, Lacage O'Foley, composer, I forgot his name, something James, something or whatever. He went up on stage and kind of dissed Sondheim, saying something along the lines of how traditional musical theater still has a place in the American hearts, saying that Sondheim doesn't write like traditional music for musical theater. And Stephen Sondheim had the most like elegant response, being like, well, at least I'm inventive. And I just want to say that kudos to Stephen Sondheim. Love that. He was just so graceful.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
We
But
miss him.
we miss him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Sondheim's like education, like his, his like role model mentor, like pretty like traditional musical theater. Like I'm just basically just saying, like Stephen Sondheim, if he didn't create traditional musical theater per se, but like he definitely knows its value. So
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
he's not. Yeah.
But yeah, like he's just so inventive in the ways of which he like creates his songs, and it is not a traditional like stand and deliver song, but I think he doesn't use the boilerplate method, and yeah.
Well
Yeah.
said. Alex, closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. I just think that this musical I think the value of this musical is to be interpreted and related to in like a case by case basis. Like I don't think personally, I mean, definitely there is an intention and a narrative, a sort of like obvious or popular narrative, if you will. But I think there's just so much opportunity, and this is true of a lot of different art, but I think this musical especially, there's so much opportunity. It covers a complex, like it covers its themes in which are complex. Like it doesn't, it's not a story. It's not enough, or it doesn't do any justice to say that this is a love story between George and Dot. Like that it is, but it's so much more than that. And even that love story is a complex one. It's not a simple boy meets girl or whatever, like two, soulmates who are incompatible. Anyway, so it's just, I think this musical has so much sort of depth and layers and opportunities, and kind of even in some extent in spite of what the intentions might have been creating it. So I think that's sort of where it's like a large amount of its value comes from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ben?
If your closing thoughts don't include you saying things like your food reviews from Disney, I'll be very disappointed. Like if you like Sunday and you like the park and you like George,
you will like this.
you will like this musical.
I
No, I don't really have anything of note to add. I've rather enjoyed hearing everybody else talk tonight, and thank you for having me. And
Thank you for being here.
From someone who originally hated the song Finishing the Hats to come full circle, look, I made a hat where there never was a hat.
Oh, that impacted me more than the song ever has in the context of the show. So thank you, Ben. There we are. All right, everyone. It's time to do the thing where you tell everyone watching anything you want them to know about you. There we go.
Hi, everyone. You can see me here next time on the Teacup for One, where we're going to be reviewing more Sondheim musicals. Very exciting. You can also follow me on Instagram at Lisa_A_Alves, where you can see photos of Betsy and my other hamsters, Sabrina, and all my theater shenanigans.
Love
Thanks,
it.
everyone.
Thank you, Lisa.
Hi. You can follow me at all of my socials down here, right below my name. I have some original songs on Spotify under Saints Down. If you look them up, you can take a listen to the music. And yeah, Instagram has Theater Shenanigans, songs, all that stuff. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
You know how it is. You folks know me by now, and if you don't know me by now, then you don't deserve me at my best. So founder creativity, that's a new thing. Owning it, loving it, living it. I gotta pee, so I'm gonna go. But yeah, it's been fun. I'm gonna go pee now. Yeah. You're good. Yeah. I'll pee.
And if you're watching, this is my channel, Teacup for One. Thank you so much for joining us for the first week of the Stephen Sondheim Musical Marathon. Join us next week, same time, same channel. We are going to be discussing Company. Phone rings, door chimes, in comes Company. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, everyone. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees, and this has been the Teacup for One. How do I end this?